Have turned in masterful efforts, but none the equal of this. Kevin Millwood, a mere spectator in postseasons past, thrust onto October's stage. The result, one of the most dominant performances in playoff history. With a dazzling arsenal, Millwood faced just 2 batters over the minimum. The Astros bats were kept silent, bringing back nightmares of postseasons past. With the series reduced to a best-of-3, the pressure mounts for the Houston hitters. For tomorrow, they face one of the game's great money pitchers. But Houston has its own ace in hand, 22-game winner Mike Hampton, a top Cy Young candidate. He takes on last year's Cy Young winner. Who will be today's hero? The National League Division Series moves indoors. Game 3, the Atlanta Braves and the Houston Astros from the Astrodome in Houston, Texas, and the big crowd is gathering in full throat. It should be a wild day here in Texas. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller with Rick Sutcliffe. Welcome to our telecast. And what a matchup we have here today. Rick Sutcliffe, a former big league pitcher, can well appreciate. We've got Tom Glavine, who has been here many times before, a 2-time Cy Young winner, and Mike Hampton, who might win that award this year, 22-4. He was the ace of the Astros. Hampton, who at one time patterned himself after Tom Glavine. But today he's up against his good friend and hunting partner, Chipper Jones. Chipper Jones of the Atlanta Braves against Hampton. What's the key for Hampton against these guys?
Well, leave Chipper alone. Just ask the New York Mets. They proved that before the season ended. And they had success in the first game. Stay away from him. The problem, Mike Hampton, a former high school football star. He's got that mentality. He likes to compete. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see him challenge Chipper today. I think that's a mistake.
All right. Now, for the Atlanta Braves, Tom Glavine. We all know his credentials. They are impeccable, especially in this ballpark. Nobody is more sad to see the demise of the Astrodome as a baseball venue than Tom Glavine. He has not lost here in 8 years. Now, he's up against red-hot Ken Caminetti, but Rick, he said yesterday that although Caminetti is hot, the key to beating the Astros is getting Jeff Bagwell out.
Well, Caminetti's not going to get any MVP votes this year. Bagwell's going to get a lot of them. But for me, the key to Bagwell is his counterpart and best buddy, Craig Biggio. Biggio has got to do whatever it takes to get on base. If that means taking one for the team, putting your body in front of something on the inner half, he's got to do that. Bagwell's much more successful with Biggio on base.
All right, and the main thing, we've got outstanding pitching going here. Should be a good one. All right, Rick Sutcliffe will be here to tell us all about Hampton and Glavine against the big stars. Big ball game, the pivotal game of a best-of-5 series.
ESPN's coverage of the divisional playoffs is brought to you by Aflac. Without us, no insurance is complete. And by Circuit City. Answers in every department, low prices all over the store.
They played the final regular season game at the Astrodome this past Sundays, and they had some nostalgic ceremonies after the ball game. But now, just a few days later, baseball again indoors at the Astrodome as they look to move to their new field, Enron Field, for next season. But one thing that has never happened in the baseball history of the Astrodome is the Astros winning a postseason series. Well, obviously, this is their last chance to do it, and this is the game to take control of this series if they're going to do it against the Atlanta Braves. Larry Dierker, the manager, up against Bobby Cox, the Braves manager. And Rick, in a pitcher's duel, what do you think? Are the managers going to be equally as important to the players in this one?
I remember Walter Alston telling me that in a one-run ball game, one manager or another has something to do with the outcome of that game. If it's 2 or 3 runs, one pitcher outpitched the other. If it's 4 runs or more, somebody went off offensively. I see this ball game being a close game, particularly early, and I think last year's manager of the year, Larry Dierker, and possibly this year's manager of the year in the National League, Bobby Cox, could have a lot to do with the outcome of this game. A bunt, a hit and run, a stolen base, something like that could be the difference.
Well, that's part of the fun of these postseason games, but also part of the pressure, not just for the players, but for the managers as well. And managers in particular, every move, if it doesn't work, gets scrutinized, rehashed, analyzed, reanalyzed. And we've seen that already with not just managers in this series, but Buck Showalter, for instance. He made a move Tuesday night that didn't work, and so on and so forth. So we'll see. Everybody's under the gun in this one. The Astros take the field. Looks like we've got a crowd of better than 50,000 at the Astrodome. They had the last 5 games of the year here played before crowds of 52,000 or better in each of those 5 games. The Astros, with their ace, Mike Hampton, getting ready to head out to the mound to face the Braves starting lineup, brought to you by Pepsi. Here is Gerald Williams in left field. Brett Boone at second base. Chipper Jones with his 45 home runs at third base. Brian Jordan in right field, and Jordan a key man hitting behind Chipper Jones, and he's had 3 hits and 2 RBIs in this series. Andrew Jones, who had his first 2 hits of the series on Wednesday in center field. Brian Hunter replaces Ryan Fresco with the lefty in there at first base. Eduardo Perez, the catcher, batting 7th. Jose Hernandez, the shortstop, and Tom Glavine, the pitcher, bats 9th. And on the mound for the Astros, and what a year. These years don't happen very often for anybody. Mike Hampton, 22-4.
He's just a perfect fit for the National League. He is the complete package. They talk about a 5-tool player in the field. This guy's a 5-tool pitcher. He can hit. He can run the bases. He can field his position. And when he throws strikes, he is as good as it gets in baseball today. Defensively behind him, a little different look out there. Miske got him in left field. Hampton on the mound. If Greg Maddux does not win his 10th Gold Glove of the year this year, it's going to be Hampton that gets that Gold Glove. Both of these guys deserving.
Miske in left, and Derek Bell back in the lineup as they like to call them here in Houston, the Killer Bees have been reunited in the lineup. It has been the year of Derek Bell's discontent, slumping and then hurt on the disabled list for a while, and not in either of the first 2 games of this series.
Well, early this year it was supposed to be Moises Alou in left, Everett in center, and Derek Bell in right. There was actually a ball game this year where Larry Dierker, because of injuries, had Craig Biggio, Biggio in left. He had Spires in center and Miske in right. And somehow this ball club managed to win again.
Richard Hidalgo, a guy they think could be a star in the future. He got a lot of playing time because Alou was down, and then he ended up being hurt and out for the rest of the year. And they finally made a trade with the Giants to get Stan Javier because they had their all-star second baseman playing in the outfield. It was crazy when you look at all of the obstacles the Astros overcame this year. Really, the only 2 guys in their regular, projected, everyday lineup who were in there all the time were Biggio and Bagwell. I mean, at various times, they had as many as 5 of their regular 8 position players on the disabled list and unavailable. Here is Gerald Williams, the right-handed hitter, leading it off for the Atlanta Braves against Hampton. And a fastball is off the outside for ball 1. So, here we go, game 3. The first game here in Houston. The Astros got out of Atlanta, having split the first 2 games, which certainly going in was a definite goal. And that is a called strike. And right at the knees, 1 ball and 1 strike. Brett Boone, Chipper Jones to follow. But suddenly there's a lot of heat on the Astros because they've got the advantage. They've got their ace on full rest, but they need to hold that advantage. He needs to win this game, or it's all back on Atlanta's side again.
If you're a Houston Astro fan, you got to concern yourself with this team having a letdown as they did last year when Kevin Brown dominated them.
The slider in the dirt struck him out. I say slider at that speed, a cut fastball, and Gerald Williams is gone. There is 1 away.
Last year it was in game 1 of the divisional series. Kevin Brown and Trevor Hoffman combined for 17 punch-outs. In the last game, it was Kevin Millwood that dominated him, and it seemed like Houston just gave in. They quit running the bases. They started swinging at a lot of bad pitches, as you saw Gerald Williams do right there.
Here's Brett Boone. Boone chasing a pitch down out of the strike zone into the 0-1. Boone had 2 hits yesterday. Boone has had a history this year of not hitting well against the top pitchers. Brett Boone hit only 164 this year against pitchers who had either 15 wins or more or 30 saves or more. And that's too high for a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. You're surprised I looked that up, aren't you?
Well, you surprised me with a lot of the information. You don't even have that many notes around you, and you come up with all these things. 1
ball, 1 strike to count. There's that cutter. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
See, I talked to Don Baylor before the game. I said, what's the game plan? What's the key to beating Mike Hampton? He said, we've got to let pitches down go. It's almost like slow pitch softball. If they throw it high, you let the bat fly. If it starts slow, you got to let it go. Williams struck out on a pitch down. Boone's put himself in the hole on balls down.
Off Hampton and through the middle, base hit. So Hampton, who is so adept at fielding the position, that one hit sharply back to him. He couldn't get to it, and Boone is aboard.
This is the pitch right here. Don Baylor says you've got a chance to do something with. Even though it's well in off the plate, it's up. And when Hampton is up in the zone, as he says, when I elevate, I'm in trouble. Well, that's what Don Baylor wants the Atlanta Braves to do today. Be patient. If it doesn't start out at your mid-thigh, simply forget about it. The movement will take it out of the strike zone.
Now Chipper Jones. He and Mike Hampton met one another when they were on a high school all-star team in Florida. The year that they were both about to graduate from high school, they were both about to be drafted, and they became fast friends while playing with that team. And that has lasted until this day. That's a called strike at the knees, that low pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. In the off-season, they'll often get together, go hunting, and that sort of thing. But I don't think that'll matter once the two are facing in this big venue. The second could be 2. Biggio, the second one. Gutierrez back to first. 2 double play. So Hampton versus Chipper. The first round goes to Hampton. Houston is coming up. Braves nothing. Astros coming up with Biggio, Bell, and Bagwell against Tom Glavine. Here's the Pepsi batting order now for the Astros. Biggio at second base. Bell in his first game of this series, right field. Jeff Bagwell is at first base. And against Glavine in regular season games, he's had a lot of success. The second best batting average among guys who've faced him over the years in the league. Ken Caminetti, third base. Matt Meesky, left field. Carl Everett, center field. Tony Eusebio, the catcher. Ricky Gutierrez at short. And Mike Hampton, the pitcher, bats ninth. And on the mound, last year's Cy Young winner, a 14-game winner this year, Tom Glavine.
He struggled earlier in the year. In my opinion, he was trying to justify the fact that he won the Cy Young Award. Some people believe that it should have gone to Trevor Hoffman. He started overthrowing. He started throwing too many fastballs, and he wasn't pitching, which is really the key to Tom Glavine. He can change speeds as good as anybody in baseball. To me, that's the key for him today. Get these guys off stride. They're going to be pressing, particularly early.
Starts with a fastball down and away against Craig Biggio. Now, Rick Sutcliffe established at the top of the telecast the importance for the Astros of Biggio getting on base to set up Bell, Bagwell, and Caminetti, particularly Bagwell. And it is 2-0.
Tom Glavine will never give in. Jeff Bagwell told me in spring training the count was 3-0, and he was still trying to hit the outside corner. And we're talking spring training. He's not going to give in. There's not going to be very many pitches in the center of the plate. And that home plate umpire is going to be very important. How big will that outside corner be this afternoon?
Mark Hirschbeck is the home plate umpire for this one. We saw his brother, John Hirschbeck, working yesterday over in the American League Series at first base in the Cleveland-Boston Series. 2-1 the count. Going inside now. And that is a base hit, left center field. Biggio with only his second hit of the series. He's now 2 for 10.
Well, Eddie Perez takes a good look at the hitter in the batter's box. He saw that Craig Biggio was diving out over the outer part of the plate. So they decided, let's come in on the inner half. Let's jam him. Well, when you look at Biggio, he's a small guy. He's a quick guy. He can run. But don't let that fool you. He's one of the stronger guys in all of baseball.
Now Derek Bell. And this was one of his worst years. 236, 12 homers, 66 batted in. Too low. So Glavine has started behind each of the first 2 hitters. Biggio, always a threat to run. And he is back to the bag. How about Glavine's move?
You know, he's a lot like Mike Hampton. He's almost impossible to run on. He's got the ability to kind of divide his attention, even when there's a good hitter at home plate. He's so confident in his location. I think Tom Glavine could throw a fastball away to a right-handed hitter if you blindfold him.
That was shot foul into the crowd in a hurry on the first base side. And Bell is a very aggressive hitter. He's not your typical number 2 hitter in the lineup.
Tom Glavine taking advantage of Bell being aggressive as well right there. He knows Bell wants to try to shoot something between that gap on the infield at first and second base. Well, instead of taking something off, throwing a changeup to get Bell to roll over on it, Glavine just put a little bit more on it. Even though Bell hit that ball hard, he wasn't able to keep it fair.
1 ball, 1 strike. Biggio at first. This should be 2. Bobbled though by Boone, and he'll get just the 1. So Biggio safely into second base.
Take a look at the defense for Atlanta. As always, Andrew Jones out there in center field. Brian Hunter at first base this afternoon. He's much better defensively than Ryan Klesko, but he's in there and hopes he can get a couple of hits.
Hunter, they were just effusive in their praise for his defensive work over there. They thought he was Gold Glove quality at first base this year. Now Eddie Perez, the catcher, goes out to the mound to talk to Tom Glavine as Jeff Bagwell comes up. Now Bagwell, as we showed you, has a .370 career average, and among all players with at least 40 at-bats against Glavine, only Mike Piazza has hit for a higher average than that. And on top of all of the base hits, he has 13 walks. So Bagwell and Glavine have battled many times, and Bagwell has done well. On the inside, he starts him with a fastball and gets it in there. Strike 1.
Bagwell's just staring at Tom Glavine right now thinking, wait a minute, you have not ever done that to me. You always start me off away. You always try to get me to trace that changeup. What's up with this fastball in? I'd like to see that again.
And now he goes to the outside but misses with it. 1 ball and 1 strike.
We talked about Hampton and whether he was going to challenge Chipper Jones or not. He did in the first inning. Possibly the reason because Brian Jordan hitting .345, hitting right behind Chipper. Well, there's not anybody in the lineup today other than Bagwell that's hitting over .300 against Glavine.
That one hit Bagwell. So Bagwell, who gets hit a lot because he does crowd the plate, and he gets hit here. He was hit 11 times during the regular season.
John, I couldn't tell if that hit Bagwell or it hit the bat. That ball just shot off of him and went into the dugout and clearly hit him in the elbow. But Jeff Bagwell is to me, he's like that cartoon character Popeye. He's just got a Houston Astro uniform on. He's got huge arms.
Now Caminetti, he's been the hot hitter for the Astros in this series. 2 men on, 1 man out. Lone one outside. 1 ball, no strikes. Caminetti, remember, finished up the year in a hot streak, which has continued on into the postseason. He's had 2 homers and 4 batted in the first 2 games of this series. Even when Millwood was virtually unhittable on Wednesday, Caminetti got the only hit against him. That's fouled off the right field line, back out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike to Ken Caminetti.
Biggio's the only one that really knows if he's trying to steal third base or not right here. He's wanting to give Tom Glavine that impression. He's jockeying around out there, checking the outfielders to see where everybody's at. But if he does take off for third, I wouldn't be surprised to see Perez try to get Bagwell at second.
Just off the outside. Glavine wants that call. 2 balls and a strike. Well, the interesting thing is Biggio, I mean, you know he steals bases, but this year Bagwell actually stole 2 more bases than did Biggio. 30 steals in the year for Jeff Bagwell.
I think part of that reason is the fact that Biggio had 56 doubles. He was already in the scoring position a lot of the time.
That's a soft foul bouncing off to the left. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Now, one thing also to keep in mind, over the years, if you get to Glavine, often the time he's most vulnerable is the first inning. And he's had a history of struggling in the first. We've seen it many times on Sunday Night Baseball over the years, where he struggled in the first, got through it, and then somewhere along the line kicked it in.
There's a lot of reasons for that. The adrenaline going. There could be a difference between the bullpen mound and the game mound.
Well, now he's to a full count with Caminetti. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Matt Mieske on deck. There is Biggio, who led off with a single. And Bagwell at first, having been hit by the pitch. 1 out, 2 on. Larry Dierker's got a decision early on. Does he start the runners? They both have speed.
I don't think there is a decision. I think you've got to send him to create some holes for a ground ball on the infield.
There they go. The ball is in there. Base hit left field. Biggio will score. The Astros have gone ahead 1-0.
John, you got to give Larry Dierker a little bit of credit right there. He started the runners. We know that Chipper Jones at third base came up as a shortstop. He's got a shortstop kind of range down there at third. Had he been deep, watch him right here. He's got to come in. He knows Biggio's coming. I don't know if he could have got to that ball or not, but he would have had a shot at it had he been playing much deeper than that. Instead, Dierker rolls the dice, and because of it, they've got a 1-0 lead.
And a chance to do more against Glavine, which, as we said earlier, is advisable to take advantage of it early on before he settles in. There's ball 1 to Matt Mieske.
I go back to that 1-1 pitch to Ken Caminetti, a fastball that was just off the outside corner, and Mark Hirschbeck called it off the outside corner. If he calls it a strike, instead of the count being 2-1, it's 1-2, a whole different scenario.
That was on the outside for a called strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Mieske hit .284 for the Astros this year. 5 homers, 22 batted in. And of course, he specializes in facing left-handed pitchers and hits the lefties awfully well. Bagwell at second, Caminetti at first. That's off the outside, 2-1. Man, Caminetti continues to deliver big time for the Astros. That is his 5th RBI of this series. Where would they be in this series without him? He's been driving in all of the big runs. Bobby Cox. And this ball club trying to get off the hook here in the first. That's a high foul and out of play. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Now, of course, the way it was planned for the Astros, the batter right now is supposed to have been Moises Alou. And he was their RBI leader last year, one of the RBI leaders in the National League. And he was never with them even for so much as 1 at-bat this year.
Well, for me, he was the MVP in the National League last year. What Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire did, I mean, that's just unheard of. But Moises Alou finished 3rd in the MVP voting, and because of that, he was the only one realistically that should have won the award. Those 2 guys should have been given something much greater than just an MVP award.
That's a high pop-up. Waiting for it in center, Andrew Jones, shallow center. And that is out number 2. So Mieske unable to move anybody up. And that will bring Carl Everett to the plate. Everett, who used to be a guy that would sit down against left-handers. And Everett, this year, showed that he could hit left-handers well, but he has never hit Tom Glavine. And look at this. He is going to bat left-handed against the left-hander. He has only had 1 hit in 12 career at-bats against Glavine, batting right-handed. So that, I guess he figured, Rick, didn't work.
He's not the first guy that said, okay, I surrender. You're better than me. I've got to try something.
And that's high for ball 1. So there's a little bit of a different wrinkle.
There's another thing, too. On the year, Carl Everett hit .327 from the right side, but he wasn't very productive. In 110 at-bats, only 18 RBIs. That's not near the production he provided from this side of the plate.
Down and away, 2-0. Glavine has started off behind every Astros hitter in this inning. This is the 6th batter of the inning. And he has started off with ball 1 on all 6 of them. Tony Eusebio, a right-handed hitter, is on deck. Bagwell at second, Caminetti at first. Ready to go on anything with 2 down. Fastball over the outside for a strike. 2-1.
A little bit easier to do this against a guy like Glavine that you know has good control. He's going to be around the plate. I don't think Carl Everett would be trying this against Randy Johnson. Somebody that might come up and in around your neck. A little tougher to stay in there than it is off Glavine.
And it is 3-1. Well, we saw at Jacobs Field yesterday in Cleveland in the American League Series, the switch-hitting Omar Vizquel, that right-handed against a right-hander, but it was a knuckleballer, Tim Wakefield.
Well, we saw Larry Walker, a left-handed hitter normally, turn around and bat from the right side in the All-Star game against Randy Johnson after he zinged one to the backstop.
That is ball 4. Everett has walked, and it's been a long, laborious inning for Tom Glavine, and it's not over yet. Tony Eusebio coming up. Eusebio's had 2 hits in 7 at-bats with an RBI in this series. And now Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach, is going to go out and talk to his veteran lefty, Tom Glavine. Glavine used to really struggle in this ballpark. The first 11 times he started here at the beginning of his career, he never won a single game. 0-8. It was his worst nightmare. The last time they beat him was June of '91 at the Astrodome, but he has never lost since then. 8-0 with a 1.20 ERA, and he really hates to see this ballpark go.
I don't think there's a pitcher in baseball that likes to see this ballpark go. It's conducive to guys getting people out. It's always been a pitcher's ballpark. Ball does not carry well here.
Here's Eusebio, bases loaded, big at bat in this game. We're only in the first inning, but we're at one of those key moments for Glavine to keep it real close, or for Eusebio to give the Astros a comfortable early lead. Fastball fouled back, 1 ball, 1 strike. 3 men on, 2 men out. It's Bagwell, Caminetti, and Everett, all ready to run on anything here. Eusebio in his first at bat of this series singled home the first run of game 1 against Greg Maddux. 1 ball, 1 strike. Up and away. 2-1. The 7th hitter of the inning. Remember, Glavine has started off with a first pitch ball to all 7 of them. So working behind has been de rigueur in this inning for Tom Glavine. Eusebio fouling one back to the screen. Glavine stays away from it. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
John, it wasn't just a coincidence that when Tom Glavine turned around his numbers here at the Astrodome, he also started having better control. He learned in this ballpark you can pitch most people up and away, and they cannot hurt you. They cannot hit the ball out of the park going the opposite field, unless you're talking about Bagwell.
Took something off that one, but missed off the outside. 3-2. Meanwhile, the Atlanta bullpen gets busy. Kevin McGlinchey, the right-hander, up.
Talk about the home plate umpire. Have you ever seen that pitch called for a strike? We all have.
There go the runners. The pitch is a little bit low. Bagwell scores. 2-0 Astros. The base is still loaded.
If it's a borderline pitch, if it's on the corner, on the black, as they say, there's no doubt in my mind, with the reputation and all that Tom Glavine has done in baseball, he deserves it. But when the pitch is just off the plate or it's just down, it's got to be called a ball.
Now Gutierrez, the 8th hitter of the inning. Off the outside, the 8th consecutive hitter that Glavine has started with ball 1. Gutierrez still looking for his first hit of this series. He hit .261 during the regular season. 2 runs are in, 3 men are on. That is a strike. Right on the knees, right in the corner. 1 ball, 1 strike. McGlinchey, the right-hander, up in the Atlanta bullpen. This is just a base hit away from starting to get out of hand for Glavine. Lima with his rally cap on. Just missing on the outside. 2-1. Glavine stared in a little extra moment or two, wanting that one. He has thrown 35 pitches in this inning. He has walked 2 and hit a batter in this inning. Right field hit hard, but there is Jordan. And the inning is over. So Glavine survives it rather well, all things considered. But the Astros lead 2-0. Tom Glavine depends on pinpoint control and also strong defense behind him.
You know, Brett Boone's not going to be charged with an error on that ground ball that was hit to him. But to me, this should go in the category as a team error. This is a double play ball right here. Boone's able to come up with that cleanly. There's 2 outs, nobody on, and Jeff Bagwell comes to home plate. Even though he was hit by a pitch, Caminiti got a base hit. Matt Mieske hit a fly ball for an out. He should have been out of the inning, Tom Glavine that been, with no runs charged.
Now Brian Jordan, and Mike Hampton goes to work with a 2-run lead. And he throws a strike on that outside edge. Jordan, 3 hits, 7 at-bats, including 2 big RBIs in the Game 2 win for Atlanta. Just off the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, they don't turn the double play, Atlanta, and it leads to 2 runs for Houston. In the Atlanta first inning, Chipper Jones hit an inning-ending double play that the Astros did turn. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Because yesterday, a double play not turned by the Boston Red Sox in a game we covered on ESPN led to a 6-run inning and perhaps game, set, and match for the Cleveland Indians against the Boston Red Sox. 1-2. That's a foul off the right field line. Still 1 ball and 2 strike. By the way, speaking of double plays, Mike Hampton, who helps himself in so many different ways, fielding his position, doing little things, also induced more ground ball double plays this year than any other pitcher in the National League. He got 38 of them. 1 ball, 2 strikes. But there's inducing the double play grounder, and then there's turning the double play.
That's also a category that Hampton led the National League in last year as well. I think part of that reason is that once he delivers a pitch, he himself is ready to make a play as well. So there's 5 gloves out there to do something.
Well, as important a part of the Red Sox fine season as Pedro Martinez was, I mean, you can really make a case that Hampton was very similar to that, if not equally as important to the Astros season, the 97-win season. After his opening day loss this year, they lost only 4 other times when he was the starting pitcher. And that's too high. 3-2 the count. In fact, going back to August of last year, his last 46 starts, the Astros record in those starts, 37 wins, 9 losses. That's more than 80% success when Hampton has been pitching. 3-2 the count. Right to third. Caminiti recovers. Jordan's very fast. He got it. Wow. The cannon of Ken Caminiti, and he needed it there to get the speedy Jordan.
Caminiti won a couple of Gold Gloves when he went to the San Diego Padres. And how he was able to do that, the first baseman there, Wally Joyner, says, if you're off balance or you got to hurry your throw, just think down. I can help you there. Well, that's also the same scenario with Jeff Bagwell at first. Bagwell can dig those low throws out, and because of it, Caminiti can just unleash that arm of his.
Here is Andrew Jones, and he takes ball 1. Andrew, who burst onto the scene dramatically in the 1996 World Series with Atlanta at Yankee Stadium with 2 home runs, but since that first game success in that World Series, he has hit only 1 more postseason home run in 71 postseason at-bats. That was last year against San Diego in the League Championship Series. He had the 2 hits after 2 horrible at-bats. That's the way Bobby Cox described them, his first 2 at-bats Wednesday, as just not being bad. They were horrible.
Come on, Bobby, how do you really feel about that?
Into the hole. Gutierrez, long throw. Bagwell trying to stay on the bag, and it cost him an extra base. Had he come off, Andrew would have been safe at first only, but he tried to keep the foot on, and the ball went into the dugout, and Andrew Jones ends up at second base.
Well, Bagwell's going to be mad at himself because he didn't just come off the bag and make this play, but Gutierrez has got to be mad as well. If he throws the ball down, Bagwell can help him. You throw it over his head, there's nothing he can do. He wanted to get the out right here. He knew it was going to be close. Look at him doing what he can right there. But the shortstop knowing if I throw that ball on the ground, not only will the AstroTurf help me, but Jeff Bagwell can as well.
Need that Dave Concepcion, Barry Larkin throw there. A quick one-hop throw on the turf. You know you're going to get a true hop. I'll talk to him after the game. Here's Brian Hunter, right-handed hitter. Hunter hit .249 with 6 home runs in the regular season. That's ball for a strike, and it is 0-1. 2-0. The Astros jumping ahead of Tom Glavine. But that was one of those innings. I mean, we're talking 2 walks, a hit batsman, a booted double play ball. It could have been one of those 4- or 5-run innings in the Astrodome in particular. Andrew Jones bluffed off second base, was not running, and that curveball missed. 1 ball, 1 strike. Andrew's got great speed, well capable of stealing a bag if you don't keep an eye on him.
Well, that becomes Craig Biggio's responsibility right here. He's got to jockey around out there at second base enough to make the third base coach of the Braves, Ned Yost, tell him to get back. That'll hold him right there.
The cut fastball missing, down and in. 2 balls and a strike to Brian Hunter. Eddie Perez, the catcher, on deck. There's Ned Yost, the Atlanta third base coach, former major league catcher. For a long time with the Milwaukee Brewers in the American League as a catcher. Biggio trying to keep Jones close at second. Chase that low one against the advice of his hitting coach, Don Baylor. 2-2 to Hunter. Here's Don Baylor. Chipper Jones really gives him a lot of the credit for turning his season as a right-handed batter around, turning his career around as a right-handed batter. He said Baylor just changed his attitude about being a right-handed hitter. Too low, dug out of the dirt by Eusebio. 3-2. He says now Chipper Jones, when he bats right-handed, he expects to crush pitches that he used to be content merely to hit for singles.
You know why I think he's more confident about that? I've been around Don Baylor for a long time, and the thing that he does, he tells you what that pitcher's strength is. And he'll tell you to stay away from that. He'll also tell you what the pitcher's weakness is, what to look for, and how you're going to have success. And to me, that's why he's such a great hitting instructor.
That's a foul.
He doesn't always come in and change a guy's swing. He had to do some things with Chipper from the right side. He got Chipper to stay a little bit taller and use his leverage. He got him to pull that left arm in just a little bit more. But for the most part, he just tells him what the opposition's trying to do to him, and it gives Chipper an idea on how to counteract that.
Andres Galarraga also had his career resurrected, became a new player under the tutelage of Don Baylor. Struck him out on the low one. The low fastball. 2 down.
Well, it's easier said than done to leave that pitch alone, because for about 50 feet, it's a strike. But you've got to trust what Don Baylor tells you. He's not had that success by not knowing what he's doing. The ball, when it starts at your lower thigh, is going to be a ball. It's going to fall out of the strike zone. Mark Hirschbeck behind home plate has been terrific here this afternoon. And that's just a mental mistake right there on the part of Hunter.
Now Eddie Perez, 1 for 7 in the series. And the curveball. He waved at it. 0-1 the count. This, by the way, is the 20th anniversary of Don Baylor's MVP season. 1979, Baylor with the then California Angels as a designated hitter most of the time. Had such an incredible season. And he won the MVP honors. The Angels won a division title that year. 0-1. And he chases the low sinker. And it is 0-2.
Andrew Jones right there looking down at the third base Ned Yost, third base coach Ned Yost, saying, hey, can I go? I can walk to third base. They must have the don't run sign on right now, but that might be a mistake. If he can get to third, he could score on a wild pitch. Rarely are you going to score on a wild pitch from second base.
Andrews stole 24 bases during the season. 0-2 to Perez. Caminetti sets himself. That's the inning. The Astros jump ahead in the first, and then Hampton keeps it there in the second. Hampton coming up. Coming up later, Game 3 of the National League Division Series, the Arizona Diamondbacks at Shea Stadium against the Mets. Joe Morgan and Bob Costas. Bob will be doing some practice for his ESPN work next year. And that's at 8 o'clock tonight on NBC, 5 Pacific. And as we understand it from Shea Stadium, Mike Piazza's name is not currently in the lineup with a thumb injury for tonight's game. Tomorrow here on ESPN, we'll have Game 4, the Braves and Astros, 1 Eastern time, and on ESPN 2, the Mets and Diamondbacks also at the same time. So we'll have 2 ball games, the whole thing covered tomorrow. Cleveland Red Sox Game 3 at 4 o'clock on Fox. Yankees Rangers 7:30 Eastern on NBC tomorrow. Mike Hampton throwing his bat up into the stands as he swings and misses at the first pitch from Tom Glavine.
That's not a bad idea right there on the part of Hampton. His sights were just a little bit high. That bat went right over the head of Greg Maddux, who could end up pitching Game 5. You're not buying that, are you? Hampton trying to take Maddux out with 1 swing.
Rick Sutcliffe is a conspiracy theorist.
Look at this right there. There it goes. It's just he hung on to it a little bit too long. There's Mad Dog. Look at him ducking down there. Huh? No, you're not buying it.
Yeah,
that's a tough souvenir, too.
Hope everybody's all right in there. Hampton, change-up, and it's 0-2. By the way, that strike to Hampton, the swinging strike 1, was the first time in the game Glavine has thrown a first pitch strike, and it's quite an impressive strike. The fastball for the strikeout. So Hampton, who hit .311 during the regular season, is gone very quickly right here. Hampton, who was the first pitcher to win 20 games and hit over 300 in the same season since Catfish Hunter 28 years ago. With the Oakland Athletics, Catfish hit .350 that year and was 21-11 when he made his new contract with Charlie Finley for the next year. He got $45,000 for winning 21 games and an extra $5,000 for his offense. $50,000 total for Catfish Hunter. He could handle the bat. Craig Biggio on the outside for a called strike, and it's 0-1. As we understand it, by the way, that story about Piazza, he took foul balls off his thumb twice within the last week as the catcher, and he's not in there. At least that's the preliminary batting order, what we've been told from Shea Stadium tonight.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's a little bit more than just a jam or sprained thumb with Mike Piazza not being in that lineup. They don't come much tougher than that guy right there. For him to not be playing, it would surprise me if there's something more than that in there. Maybe surgery at the end of the year.
Biggio started that 2-run first inning with a single to left center. The count is 2-1 to him. Biggio getting on base, something that he is so proficient at doing, but it has not been that way for him in October. The Astros continue to wait for that to turn around. Fouled out of play off to the right. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Now those 2 first inning runs, it might be a little over optimistic for Astros fans to think of more of the same coming, because Glavine does have that history of gaining comfort on the mound as the game goes along and finding his groove. Derek Bell on deck. Up and away.
I thought, like John, like you said too, in the bottom of the first inning with Ricky Gutierrez up there, if he gets a base hit, that thing could have been blown open, but Tom Glavine has just always had the ability to get that out and keep his club in the game, which is where they're at now.
Strike 3 called on the outside. Biggio had started toward first, but he is rung up by Mark Hirschbeck.
Number 14, Derek Bell.
Biggio's going to get right on top of the plate. He's going to get a good look at that outer half, and to me, that ball is a strike right there. it might just be off the side from there, and Biggio's mind, that's a ball. But in his opinion, he's not the one to count.
Ball one to Derek Bell. He grounded to second, his first time.
What makes it so deceptive is that Perez is so good at not only catching it on the outer part of the glove to make it look like more of the gloves on the plate, but he brings it right back to that corner.
Bell again with a ground ball to Boone. This time Boone plays it cleanly. And after a 36-pitch first inning, Glavine with a 3-up, 3-down, 10-pitch second. 2-0 Houston.
ESPN's coverage of the divisional playoffs is brought to you by Nike and by Claritin.
Astros 2, Braves nothing as we head to the third inning from the Astrodome. It'll be Jose Hernandez, the 8th place hitter, up first against Mike Hampton. Here's Jose. 19 home runs during the season for both the Cubs and then the Braves. Tom Glavine will follow. And Hampton is a little bit low with ball one. 1 ball, no strikes. 2 runs, 2 hits, 1 error for Houston. No runs, 2 hits for Atlanta. Hernandez continues to get the call at shortstop over Walt Weiss. Although I think Bobby Cox may like Weiss defensively a little bit better. But because of the lack of Andres Galarraga, Javi Lopez, Brian Jordan perhaps not as powerful as he normally would be with a hand injury. He likes that thought of maybe Hernandez with those 19 homers. Maybe he'll pop one at some point. 3-0.
What Hernandez has got to do is prove Bobby Cox right by getting a couple of base hits, score a run, drive in a run, because without that, they're going to lose something defensively.
3 balls, 1 strike. Hernandez 7 for 21 with 2 triples against Hampton in the past, and it's 3-2. They hit the big downtown cut at that one. Full count now. He struck him out with the sinker. 1 away. Tom Glavine up to the plate.
You wonder why so many people like throwing to Perez. Take a look right there. There's the outside corner. Now look at where he's got his glove. He's got part of it there on the corner, but the majority of it is off the corner there, okay? The umpire doesn't know where that baseball comes into the glove at. Watch him catch it, try to get on the outer half, and then look at him pull it back right there to try to influence the call.
Ball 1 to Glavine. Perez, and Braves pitchers like pitching to him. And that's a ball up and in, 2-0. He gets way out there, and that same shot, Rick, you could see his right foot was mostly out of that catcher's box back there. There were times this year that umpires made him get fully back in the catcher's box, which is the way the rule book reads.
Well, Perez knows that he's in the big leagues because of his defense, and he'll tell you he considers himself part of the pitching staff first, part of the lineup second.
Tom Glavine with a 2-1 count, and it is 3-1. Now Glavine, just like Hampton, was a very fine hitter. He hit only 138 this year, but he's won several, what do you call them, Silver Slugger awards.
Silver Slugger. Don't look at me. I never won one of them.
Emblematic of being the best hitter at your position. 3-2. You couldn't hit?
I could hit a little bit, but when I first came up, they didn't have that award, and then I didn't hit very well after they started it.
Glavine pokes it foul off the left field line. I thought you were like an all-round athlete.
Well,
now, did you ever get used as a pinch hitter?
I did, actually, here in the Astrodome in an extra inning ball game, but I think what throws you a little bit.
Wait a minute. How'd you do?
I got a base hit.
Oh!
And then Tommy sort of put in a pinch runner for me.
Glavine is down on strikes. 4 strikeout for Hampton. No respect for Rick Sutcliffe's base stealing ability. Who'd you hit for?
You know, I don't even remember. I think it was Bobby Castilla. It was late in the game. Bobby Castillo, if he's known for anything, it would be he was the guy that taught Fernando Valenzuela the screwball.
Wow.
He had a little bit of success with that pitch.
Yeah, I recall. It's just a vague memory of it now. Fernando could hit a little bit, too. Here is Gerald Williams, the leadoff man. 1 ball and no strikes. But no silver sluggers for Rick Sutcliffe. Mike Hampton might win one this year, having hit over 300. Might win a Gold Glove for his defensive abilities. Might win the Cy Young for the whole package. He may have to build a new wing in his house to house all of the awards that he's likely to win. And the folks here in Houston have already voted, by the way. No question here about who's getting that award. Well, he chases that sinker, which he did in the first inning when he struck out. So through the lineup, a lot of the Atlanta Braves, despite the admonitions of their hitting instructor, Don Baylor, have not been able to lay off that low sinker.
I really didn't think going into the last week of the season that there was any doubt Randy Johnson was going to win the Cy Young Award. But Hampton came up huge in his last 2 starts, as he has so far today.
Williams laid off that one. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Brett Boone is on deck. Yeah, Hampton. A week ago, Wednesday, defeated Cincinnati in a big ball game when the division title was in doubt. And then on Sunday, he won the clincher against L.A. with 3 days of rest, as that one is fouled out of play rather. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
He basically did the same thing for the Astros that Chipper Jones did for the Atlanta Braves when he single-handedly kind of took that series from the New York Mets, along with some pretty good pitching.
2 balls, 2 strikes. What came after him with that 4-seamer you were talking about?
And that's probably the first time today that Don Baylor's cracked a smile. When he saw the ball up in the zone, he took that good swing at it. It's one thing to tell the hitters what to go out there and do. It's another thing for them to execute that. So far, Atlanta has not done it.
2-2. He struck him out. And he strikes out the side and has 5 strikeouts for the game. Bagwell coming up. 2-0 Astros. 5 National League Division Series. Game 4 tomorrow, right back here in the Astrodome. Game 5, if necessary, Sunday in Atlanta. Jeff Bagwell against Tom Glavine. And that's off the outside. And one thing that makes this the need to succeed even more immediate for the Astros is the fact that they've got their ace going, Hampton, today. They've got a little advantage, perhaps, in their ballpark with their ace. And then tomorrow, it's John Smoltz, who's had more success than anybody in the 90s in postseason play. And then if there's a Sunday game, it's Greg Maddux. So the time to take control of the series for the Astros is right here. 3 infielders to the left side of second for Jeff Bagwell. Just off the outside of that fastball. It is 2 balls and a strike. Glavine has gone to a 3-ball, 2-strike count on 4 hitters already in the first 2 innings. But significantly, he retired all of them. High in the air, down the right field line, and this will go back out of play.
It seems like that's all you ever face when you go up against the Atlanta Braves is an ace. They've got 4 number 1s. I asked Brian Jordan earlier in the year, I said, what's the best part about coming to the Atlanta Braves? Is it coming back home, you know, familiar background for you? You're back with your family and all that? He says, not really. He says, not having to face Maddux, Smoltz, and Glavine. And now Millwood's the best part.
Just off the edge again. 3-2 to Bagwell. He was hit by a pitch in the first inning and scored a run. Caminetti and Miesky will follow. Struck him out. Staying right out there in the corner. 1 away.
Glavine having a little bit of trouble with the outside corner in the first inning. He just wasn't quite able to get it there. He found the plate. Caminetti extended his zone a little bit. Now DeSabio, he wants to challenge this guy. He's just missing that outside corner right there. Now Craig Biggio's up there. He's a little bit closer. If it's a borderline call, as we said earlier, he's going to get it.
Big curveball to Caminetti. 1 ball and no strikes. They continue to look for something that will succeed against this guy. 5 hits in 8 at-bats in the series. 2 homers, 5 RBIs, including an RBI today. That's the call that Glavine wants. Right at the corner, right on the knees. 1 ball, 1 strike. Miski on deck. 2-0. The Astros are leading. It's a foul out of play. Well, the Astros used to have a guy named Jimmy Wynn. He was really their first great slugger back in the 60s and into the 70s. And they called him the Toy Cannon. And those fans who drew that banner out in the outfield like Ken Caminetti better as Cannonetti. And of course he's got a cannon for an arm, we know that. Curveball. Check the swing in the dirt.
Well, that wasn't where Jimmy Wynn got that nickname of his, though. It wasn't because of his arm. It was because of how far he could hit a baseball.
And the fences were extraordinarily deep in this ballpark. 1967, the toughest home run in the game. Jimmy Wynn hit 37 home runs. And that's another base hit for Caminetti. Or Cannonetti. He is 2 for 2.
When he's healthy, this right here is what makes him so good. There's nobody on base. He's going to try to leave the ballpark. He wanted to pull the ball. Now he gets 2 strikes on him. He says, you're not going to give in to me. I've got to make an adjustment on my part. You throw it on the outer half of the plate, I'm going to take it right back where it came from. And that's great news for Houston. Ken Caminetti has gotten his legs back. He did not have them last year in the postseason with San Diego. When he's healthy, he's an MVP candidate.
Matt Miski now. Two nothing. Houston on top. 1 ball, no strikes to Miski. Miski against the left-handers this year hit .354, and that's not unusual for him to hit real well against the lefties. That's why he's here in the lineup today. And a foul out of play off to the right. Miski's had a lot of back problems this year, and causes him a great deal of pain. He's constantly getting treatment for it, and he's a little concerned he might have some kind of a serious problem where he might need some surgery in the offseason. But he says it's not painful enough that he can't play. 1 ball, 1 strike. This could be 2. Boone to second 1. Hernandez to first. Double play. So that double play turned by the Reds. It'll be Boone, then Chipper Jones coming up. 2-0 Houston. Division series, the Braves and Astros. 2-0. The Astros ahead as we go to the 4th inning. As this is the first game in this series played here in Houston. The Astros split the 2 in Atlanta. Now they try and take control of the series here at home. Brett Boone leads it off. 1 for 1. He takes low from Mike Hampton. 1 ball, no strike. Now we've seen Hampton once through the Braves batting order as they start now through the 2nd time. Boone, the second place hitter. It's a little bit high. 2-0 to count. Chipper Jones on deck, and then Brian Jordan due 3rd in the inning. Boone and Andrew Jones have singles so far against Hampton. They've been the only base runners. And he misses ball 3.
Well, if there's one knock against Mike Hampton, when you look at his statistics, 101 base on balls on the year. So from time to time, home plate will start moving on him, and it looks like it's doing it right now.
Fastball to strike. Well, he's also got perhaps a little personal history to try and get rid of fully. He pitched game 2 of the division series against Atlanta, 1997, and could not get the ball over. That's a foul ball. Facing that low pitch. 3 balls, 2 strikes. He worked 4 2/3 innings at Turner Field that day and gave up 6 runs on only 2 hits. He walked 8. And at one time in the 5th inning of that game, he walked half the lineup consecutively. Just could not get the ball over, and it got worse the more he pitched. Jammed him. Tough play for Caminetti, but the ball goes foul.
There's no doubt that that 4-seam fastball of Hampton has also helped his location a little bit. With a 3-0 count, he threw the fastball for the strike. Watch all the movement on everything he throws right there. That's the reason that home plate will move around on him from time to time. Look at everything moving right there.
That was back in '97.
When you've got that much movement on your fastball, you don't always know where to start it out. Is it going to move a foot, 2 inches, 4 inches? When you throw the four-seamer, you know it's going to stay straight.
Wow. Tough pitch with 2 strikes. He has struck out 4 in a row and 5 of the last 6 hitters, which is not what you expect from Hampton. Now Chipper Jones, and he hit a double play ball his first time.
Look at Hampton know everything right in the heart of the plate. You think he's going to fool around with Chipper? These guys are going to be sitting in that tree stand talking.
Into the hole, Gutierrez. From his knees, there's the 2-hop throw, but Chipper Jones, who runs real well, had that one beaten out. The second infield hit of the game for Atlanta.
You're talking about your hunting buddy, as you are with Mike Hampton and Chipper Jones. There's a lot of pride involved. They're going to be in that tree stand this winter, and Hampton doesn't want Chipper saying, hey, why would you challenge me, man? Come on, what's up with that? Well, he's challenging him, but he's challenging him down in the strike zone with movement, trying to keep Chipper from being able to hit the ball in the air anywhere.
Which is a little different than just throwing 4 pitches in the dirt, right?
Which is what Chipper saw in the first game of this series.
Now Brian Jordan. Double play ball to Gutierrez. He bobbles it. They get the 1. They get the lead runner, which is a nice recovery, but again, a failure to turn what looked to be a perfectly hit double play ball.
And I think what might have happened here is that these guys got accustomed to that natural grass at Turner Field in Atlanta. The ball's going to get to you slower. And now the ball's getting on top of him. This thing did the same thing to Brett Boone in the first inning when it just ate him up. They talk about good infielders, John, and they talk about how they have a clock. You know, they know when to hurry up a throw. They know when to take their time on a throw. Well, AstroTurf just speeds up your clock a little bit. The ball gets on you quicker. The guys get down to first a little bit quicker.
Here's ball 1 to Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones got an infield hit his first time. Well, Mike Hampton, who led the league in getting those double play grounders, got his second in 4 innings here, but the Astros did not turn the double play. Now, as we mentioned, Cleveland turned that into 6 runs yesterday. The Astros have turned the Braves' failure to turn a double play into 2 runs in the first inning. But we'll see if Hampton allows this missed double play opportunity to be turned into anything at all. As Chipper Jones was having a session there with the trainer in the Braves dugout. 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 down. Jordan at first. You see Andrew Jones taking that big rip, pulling off the ball, which Don Baylor had worked with him after 2 horrible at-bats on Wednesday. And then Andrew Jones with a different approach ended up getting 2 clutch hits in that game. The Braves broke open late. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Center, Garrett Bell. And with the second ball hit to the outfield by Atlanta. 1 hit, 1 left. Everett coming up. 2-0 Astros. Used to call it. It opened in 1965. Let's take a look now at the Aflac trivia question. In 1969, Larry Dierker won 20 games for the Astros. How many National League pitchers accomplished that same feat that season? Carl Everett. Again, batting left-handed against the left-hander, Tom Glavine. 0-1 the count. You know, I asked Everett before the game why he had success hitting right-handed this year when he never had before. You know, I mean, a lot of them made about Chipper Jones' success hitting right-handed. What about Carl Everett? 0-1 the count. And Everett said, hey, I was naturally a right-handed hitter. Tom McCraw working with him, but he said, this is the first year where he really got a chance to hit right-handed on a regular basis. And he thinks of the familiarity, since before he almost never hit right-handed. They benched him. Glavine misses off the outside. 2-1 the count. So we had this big long discussion about how well he's done right-handed. I said, how about how he done against Glavine? And he said, well, let's put it this way. I feel I'm going to have a great deal of success with him starting today. And what does he do? He comes out batting left-handed.
Well, I talked with their hitting instructor, Tom McGraw, before the game about him as a right-handed hitter, and he said he's productive, but he's not the same. He's got to hit line drives to the opposite field when he swings from the right side. He doesn't have the power that he has from this side. It's like he decided against the line drives to the opposite field. And he's going to try to take somebody deep this afternoon.
Now, the box for the batter's box is supposed to be about 6 inches off the plate. So his right foot, I think, is actually out of the batter's box. Up the middle. Boone in center field. Not nearly in time. So Everett, as a lefty against a lefty, has a walk and now a single.
And you know what? If he hits this same ball from the right side, he is probably out. He's going to have about 4 or 5 more feet to run. That's going to take a step or two to get there. But from this left side, look at him right there. He's already down the line. Where would he have been on the right side? Boone comes up with it, does all he can possibly do, takes advantage of the turf. And Everett just beats it by a step. He might not have been able to do that had he hit from the right side.
Tony Eusebio. He drew a bases-loaded walk to drive in the second Astros run in the first inning. Kent Cameron having singled home the first run. Everett, who has a lot of speed. He stole 27 bases this year, caught only 7 times.
And if you're Larry Dierker right now, you're playing with house money. Why not roll the dice a little bit? You're in the bottom of the lineup. You're normally not going to produce them there anyway. Send somebody. Put on the hit and run. Try a squeeze. There's lots of options when you've got the lead. If you're Bobby Cox and you're down 2-0, your hands are kind of tied right now.
Bobby Cox. And Bobby Cox made his ball club much more aggressive in the base pass in game 2. And it paid off nicely. There goes Everett. The hit and run. And a foul ball by Eusebio. Everett will have to go back.
That's a real good job on both of their parts right there, the base runner and the hitter. Larry Dierker can put on the sign, but the players have to execute it. Everett made sure that Glavine went to home plate. You can't get picked off in that situation or your manager looks bad. And Eusebio, even though it was a ball up and out of the strike zone, he expanded that zone a little bit, did the best he could to get a piece of it, and now Dierker can try it again if he wants.
1-1. After the screen. That time Everett rather was not running. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Eusebio with Ricky Gutierrez on deck. Tom Glavine on the hill. He's won at least 10 games in each of the last 11 seasons. Greg Maddux is the only other major leaguer with a current streak that long. A high foul out of play. No other active pitchers had a streak of that length in his entire career.
How about that streak that Greg Maddux is on? No, 12 consecutive years. He's won 15 games or more. Wow.
He's up there with, what is he? Only the 4th pitcher in history to do it. He's up there with some legendary names.
They've already got his key to the Hall of Fame made.
It's up and in to Eusebio. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Greg Maddux, your old teammate with the Cubs. You were there when he first came up. I hear you taught him everything he knows. He pitched in game 1, and he was constantly under attack by the Astros, but limited them to only 2 runs.
That's a bad outing for him. 2 runs in 7 innings.
Everett flinched towards second, and then Glavine made the throw over there, and Everett got back to the bag in time. So he might have had some thoughts about running. Here's a look at it.
Glavine doesn't have a real good move. You saw right there he had the old look to home, go to first. And a lot of times he'll look to first when he's going to go to home. That's what Everett's trying to key on here.
Easily back that time. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Nobody out. The Astros ahead 2-0. The Braves. Hernandez at short, Boone at second, pulled in a little bit, double play deck. Not running, and Eusebio down on strikes. Glavine's got 4 strikeouts.
Number 12.
This little tail-end fastball right there, maybe a little off the plate, a little up in the zone. Eusebio should have stuck with that swing where he was trying to just put it in play on the hit and run. He got a little bit long right there. He pulled off of it. Glavine took advantage of it.
Xavier, not a guy with much power anyway. He hit only 4 home runs all season in 323 at-bats. Now Gutierrez. Fastball for a called strike, and it is 0-1. One other game in Division Series play tonight at Shea Stadium, with Arizona taking on the Mets. And the Mets, I think, like Houston here, need a win tonight, because the 5th game in both of those series will be on the road for the Astros and for the Mets.
How about that gutty performance, too, from the Diamondbacks' Todd Stottlemyre? He was supposed to be out for the year, possibly career-ending surgery. They said his rotator cuff's torn, his labrum is torn. It's almost like a hand grenade went off in his shoulder. Yet he rehabbed, he got bigger, he got stronger, and he developed some muscles that can compensate for those tears, and he won.
Tries the inside with a fastball there, but missed with it. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Gutierrez with Hampton on deck. 1 out, 1 on here in the 4th inning. And again, if you missed our mention earlier, we'll repeat. The word from Shea Stadium is that the Mets' early lineup does not list Mike Piazza in it. Chase that one up and in, and Gutierrez is down on strikes. Another strikeout for Glavine. He's got 5, and Hampton will take a shot at it. 2-0 Houston leading. A 2-run first inning against Glavine, who threw 36 pitches in the first, had to face 8 hitters. He walked 2, he hit a batter, but all in all, he came out of it where you said, hey, he only gave up 2 runs. Could have been a lot worse. It is still 2-0 in the 4th inning. Off the outside to Hampton. 1 ball and no strikes. The other American League series will pick up tomorrow. And in both of those series, the home teams will be playing for survivor. The Rangers and the Yankees in Texas. The Red Sox in Cleveland at Fenway Park. So the 2 leagues division series have taken decidedly different courses here in the first couple of games. Very tight and tense so far in the National League. Each team with a win before changing venues, and the American League, one team has been dominating. It's a little bit low on the Texas Rangers. They just can't get a run. Got 1 last night when Juan Gonzalez hit a home run. They had a great chance with runners at 2nd and 3rd, nobody out, but they could not get a single run out of that against Andy Pettitte.
I don't think there's a whole lot their manager, Johnny Oates, can do either. I mean, you're not going to sit any of those guys down. You've got to just sit back and hope.
It's a foul out of play off the right field side. What's more, against the world champion Yankees, they're down 2 games to none. Now they get Roger Clemens. It's not a good situation to be in, although Clemens has not been the Roger Clemens of the past. He has not been any kind of a Kevin Millwood so far this year. Over the mound, Hernandez gets him. A leadoff single, but then nothing. Everett stranded. It is 2-0 Houston. We've played 4 full innings. The Astros leading game 3 of this best-of-5 series, 2-0 over the Braves as we start the 5th inning. Now the Aflac trivia question. In 1969, Larry Dierker won 20 games. We had asked this earlier. How many National League pitchers accomplished that same feat that season? And 9. Larry Dierker, Bob Gibson, Bill Hands, Fergie Jenkins, Phil Niekro, Cloud Osteen, Tom Seaver, and Bill Singer. There's pretty good names on that list.
Larry Dierker belongs there with those other guys. He's still the all-time Houston Astro leader in starts, innings pitched, and complete games, and one of the few guys that can pass that on to his players. His first year as a manager, he went to the mound a couple of times and told the starters simply, take a look in the bullpen. But look down there, nobody up and throwing. They knew they were in there to complete it.
There's a changeup to Brian Hunter, and it's 0-1. Now, we haven't seen too many changeups from Hampton today.
When you mentioned earlier, the second time around the lineup, there's got to be some adjustment. And as a starting pitcher, you need 3 pitches. The 3rd pitch is Hampton's changeup.
Past the mound to short. Gutierrez. And there is one away. Hunter is gone.
Well, pitching's an awful lot like fishing. You throw your lure in one spot, you get somebody to take a bite on it. You're probably going to take that same lure and throw it back in the same spot. Hope you get another fish. Well, that's exactly what Mike Hampton's doing right now. He's throwing that cutter down and in, the sinker down and away, and he probably does some fishing with Chipper Jones along with that hunting.
Eddie Perez to third. Caminetti out number 2. Nice play.
For the second time this afternoon, Perez trying to pull that sinker, and when you do it, you're going to hit a ground ball. Cammy with a nice play, and he just simply slides like that because it helps him slow down his momentum, and then he can square up and make the throw from a stationary position. He doesn't have his body going towards second, trying to make an accurate throw to first.
2 down, nobody on. Jose Hernandez. That's a strike. Now, when this inning started, Terry Mulholland had started warming up in the Atlanta bullpen, but now with 2 quick outs, Tom Glavine is due up next. Mulholland has stopped throwing. Hernandez takes off the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Hernandez struck out his first time. 2 down, bases empty in the 5th. 2-0 Houston. I'm wondering, Rick, if Bobby Cox was thinking he might pinch hit for Glavine if something serious had gotten started. Because, I mean, Hernandez might still get on.
Well, he might just be wanting to get a little TV time for Terry Mulholland. I mean, they're kind of proud of that trade they made with the Cubs. Mulholland coming over, and Jose Hernandez.
Didn't work. We need more of Mulholland than that. we're not drawn in that easily.
Well, he got mentioned.
That cutter missed down and in. 2 balls, 2 strikes. A playoff television coverage mentioned for that man, Terry Mulholland, who's now back on the bench out there in the bullpen alongside Bruce Chen. 2-2. And he struck him out. Number 7 for Hampton. Top of the order, Biggio, Bell, Bagwell. 2-0, Houston. The Braves in the top of the order coming up for Houston. Craig Biggio, Derek Bell, and Jeff Bagwell. When the Astros got to the postseason in 1997, it was really sort of a 3-man lineup, just these 3. Well, last year they added Moises Alou, and what a great addition he was. This year they lost him, but Carl Everett blossomed. But nonetheless, these guys still are the big guys, especially Biggio. That one is caught by Boone, keeping him off the bases.
We talked to begin with about how important it is for the Astros, and in particular Biggio, to get on base. Well, back in the first inning, he did that. He got on base with a base hit, and they were able to score a couple of runs. He has not got on base in his second or third at bat, and guess what? Houston hadn't scored.
Now Derek Bell, who's grounded out twice. Base hit. So Bell is aboard for Bagwell as the Atlanta bullpen gets busy. Russ Springer, a right-hander, has started to warm up for Atlanta. Bagwell has been hit by a pitch today and struck out, but Bobby Cox well knows that this is the big threat in the Astros batting order, and he has had more than a little success in the past against Tom Glavine. Bagwell is 1 for 8 in this series. It looks like a screwball missing up and away. 1 ball, no strikes. Bagwell, a 3-time All-Star, a .304 career hitter. Off the outside, ball 2, but he came into this game hitting only .121 in his career in these postseason games. Remember, the Astros have never won a postseason series, not in the last 3 years, not ever. Just off the edge, 3-0. Caminetti is on deck now. Caminetti has been the guy. He's been the man in this series. So if he walks Bagwell, he could pay a big price.
He needs to be careful right here with this 3-0 pitch, though. Bagwell didn't even have to look at the third base coach. He knows he's on his own.
Not even close. And so a threat has materialized with Ken Caminetti with the red-hot bat coming up. 6 for 9 in the series, including a Game 1 3-run homer against a left-hander, Remlinger, that broke open the Game 1 in Atlanta. And then the only hit of Game 2 against Kevin Millwood, batting left-handed. That was in the second inning of Game 2. Today, he has singled to left, driving in the first run of the game, and he singled his last time as well. 2 men on, 1 man out. Double play ball to Boone. Second one, and that is the first. Double play. Just like that, end of threat. 2-0. Glavine scheduled to lead off. We go to the 6th inning. The Atlanta Braves, no runs, 3 hits, no errors. We go to the top of the 6th inning. Later tonight on ESPN 2 at 9 o'clock Eastern, the Friday night fights. A 10-round cruiserweight bout. James Toney, who's 57 wins, 4 losses, and 2 ties with 37 knockouts up against Ramon Garbe. 14-1 with 11 knockouts. For more, log on to ESPN.com. That's the Friday night fights, 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPN 2. Tom Glavine bluffing the bunt, taking a ball from Mike Hampton as we start the 6th inning. Greg Maddux has gone down to the bullpen. Kevin Millwood's out there, too. Anybody see Warren Spahn down there?
Yeah, but I didn't see Kevin Millwood with a glove.
I guess I just like the view down there. It was getting a little too tense in the dugout. No runs for Atlanta. Hampton. Runs it over to Bagwell. He almost had a little too much lob on that one. Glavine really hustled. 1 down.
Pretty good fundamentals there on the part of Hampton. Ball's in fair territory where he fields it. He simply steps back. He knows Bagwell's going to be on the fair side of first base. Look at him right there. He freezes himself rather than getting in the line of the runner where the runner might make contact with the baseball. It's a simple throw. I don't know if it was as simple as Hampton made it right there. Put a little bit more juice on it than that, but nonetheless, the first out.
Well, he's had the strikeout pitch working today, and he's also had them hitting it on the ground when they've been able to hit it. Gerald Williams, the leadoff man, has not been able to hit it. He struck out 2 times. I think Gerald has seen 1 pitch above the knees the whole game. He got that 4-seam fastball. You pointed it out back in the 3rd inning, and he fouled it straight back.
We didn't know to begin with if Hampton was going to be able to keep his composure with this big crowd or not, but he's certainly done that. One of the keys to his success today in 6 innings, he's retired the leadoff hitter all 6 times.
Pop up. Bagwell, foul territory. 2 gone. The only hits for Atlanta, a single by Boone in the 1st, an infield hit by Andrew Jones in the 2nd, and an infield hit by Chipper Jones in the 4th. I mean, they've only had 2 balls that have reached the outfield. One on Boone's single in the 1st, and the other a fly ball by Andrew Jones in the 4th. Now, it's not quite Kevin Millwood on Wednesday. On the other hand, I think it's been almost as dominating as Millwood.
It's actually been a little bit better than Millwood. He hasn't been scored upon yet. Millwood did give up a run.
Oh, you're counting that? Sure. Count that against the kid. 2-0, or 2-0 is the score. 1 strike to count. Millwood in the bullpen. That's a base hit for Boone. Boone is 2 for 3 today. He had 2 hits in his last 2 at-bats against Jose Lima on Wednesday. And, of course, we had pointed out during the regular season, Boone was almost an automatic out against the top pitchers in the league, hitting only 164 against pitchers who won 15 games or more or had 30 saves or more. But that's not the way it's been the last 2 days against Lima and now Hampton.
He did exactly what Bobby Cox wanted him to do in that situation there. Get on base. Bring our big-time player to home plate as a tying run. This is a big situation right here.
He is the possible tying run. Change up, ball 1.
And you've got Billy Wagner down in the bullpen. You're running out of outs at this point right here. You might not get the tie and run to home plate again in person of anybody, let alone the guy you want it to be, that being Chipper Jones.
And they ruled that a swing by Chipper Jones, so it is 1 strike to count. Bobby Cox didn't think so. Fastball missing. 1 ball, 1 strike. Chipper hit a double play in the first and beat out an infield single to shortstop in the fourth. Chipper Jones, a .381 career record against Hampton. That pitch looked like a hard slider. 1-2 to count.
You wonder where all that power from Chipper Jones came from. The one thing Don Baylor did mechanically was he got him more upright. He wanted him to take advantage of his height and that leverage. He also pulled that left arm in just a little bit. Kind of like an ice skater. When they go to do one of those powerful spins, they keep their arms in. When you try to turn on something powerful, you want your arms close together.
Too low. Well, in his career before this year, Chipper Jones had averaged only 1 home run every 56 at-bats as a right-handed hitter. I mean, he's just a singles hitter batting right-handed. This year, 1 home run every 9.5 at-bats batting right-handed. That's a Sammy Sosa kind of a pace. That's a foul ball. Again, another changeup there from Hampton. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Chipper Jones, there you see the numbers. 12 homers and 678 at-bats right-handed until this year. Now he's a legitimate threat from either side of the plate.
Well, this is his 11th at-bat of the playoffs. He's due.
In the dirt and heading for second. Boone, he'll make it easily. Eusebio has to go over to the backstop to pick that one up. A wild pitch. Now, Chipper Jones' job's a little different. I mean, just a base hit means a run. 3-2 the count. 45 homers. And of course, we all were watching SportsCenter when Chipper Jones had that amazing series against the Mets in Atlanta with 10 days to go in the season. 4 homers in 3 days, and all 4 of them put the Braves ahead in the game against the Mets. 3-2. Runner at second, and he walks it. So Chipper Jones does, in fact, draw the walk. The first walk allowed by Hampton in this game. Now Brian Jordan. Well, what about that walk, Rick?
Well, he went right after him the first 2 at-bats. Situation that he felt like he needed to. Right there, when he's the tie and run, you can see that Mike Hampton's not only working hard from the neck down, he's got a little work going on from the neck up, too. He wasn't going to let Chipper get anything that he could hit out of the ballpark. He knows that Brian Jordan is less than 100%. His power has gone away the last couple of months.
Jordan hits one high and deep into left center field, way back there. And this one is gone, a home run. So Brian Jordan finds some of that power, which had disappeared the last couple of months of the year. And that is a stunning reversal in this game. On the first pitch after the walk to Chipper Jones, Jordan just crushes one way over the 375 marker. And in this ballpark, that is quite a tape measure shot. It is 3-2 Atlanta.
Because of that injury to his right wrist, all the cortisone shots, he actually went 124 at-bats without a home run before he went deep against the Mets in New York. That was a hanging breaking ball he hit out in New York. Once again, he got something up, off speed. This ball didn't just barely get out of here. It was no doubt.
1 strike the count to Andrew Jones. Big cut, he didn't get it. 0-2 the count. Brian Jordan. Well, he and Ryan Klesko both seem to be personally offended after game 1 that the Astros' strategy that day was to do not allow Chipper Jones ever to see a pitch anywhere near the strike zone, as if they were players not to be reckoned with. Well, since that first game, Jordan and Klesko in game 2 have been very important forces in that Braves batting order.
Well, the one thing Shane Reynolds did in that first game when he pitched around Chipper Jones, he was able to get the next hitter, Ryan Klesko, out all 4 times. If you're not going to give somebody anything to hit, you got to know you can get the next guy out. Mike Hampton thought he could get Brian Jordan out. He was wrong.
2 strikes and 2 low with a changeup. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Shane Reynolds, who will be back out there on 3 days of rest in Game 4 tomorrow against John Smoltz at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And he chased the low changeup with a strikeout. But after getting the first 2 hitters, the Braves then put 3 on the board and a 417-foot blast by Brian Jordan. Suddenly, the Astros are trailing at home. Last of the 6th coming up. Mike Hampton, the sinker baller, keeps the ball on the ground, allowed only 12 home runs in 239 innings this year. But the big blow of the game so far, the 3-run launch by Brian Jordan, 417 feet, way up into the bleachers out there in left center. And now Tom Glavine, who started off so poorly in the first inning, but has settled in since then. Now, for the first time, is pitching with a lead. Matt Miesky, 354 hitter against lefties, takes ball 1. And this is a lead that Bobby Cox will do his best to keep. He's already got his bullpen very busy. Miesky today 0 for 2. Off the outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The right-hander is Russ Springer. The left-hander, Terry Mulholland. The Astros also have some activity going in their bullpen. Bobby Cox and his Braves lead by 1. To third. Chipper Jones regains control and throws it out. So Miesky is 0 for 3. Jose Cabrera, young right-hander, up in the Astros bullpen. He had great success the last couple of months of the season. Being brought up. 1 out, nobody on.
How about Tom Glavine, though? Even when he's not at his best, you know, he's still pretty good. He always finds a way just to hold on. And he held on just long enough for Brian Jordan to make 1 swing of the bat and the lead to him.
Everett again batting left-handed against the left-hander, and Glavine has not been able to retire. I mean, Glavine really doesn't have much of a book on this guy. He never faced him as a lefty before. Everett was only 1 for 12 lifetime against Glavine as a right-handed hitter, so you know. He's out there batting left-handed. There's a walk and a single. 2-0 the count. 3-2. Atlanta is leading. It's a strike. 2-1. Glavine in that first inning gave up 2 runs, 2 hits. He walked 2, hit a batter. Since then, in 4 and a third innings, no runs, and only 3 hits and 1 walk. And he's gotten 2 double play balls in those 4 and a third innings since the first. And 5 strikeouts, all since the first.
Glavine personally is on a 3-game winning streak. The Atlanta Braves have actually won 4 of his last starts. When you look at his career numbers, 187 and 116.
Strike 3 on the outside, his 6th strikeout. Well, we saw the stunning home run by Brian Jordan. Third base coach Ned Yost is wearing a microphone. Here's how Ned Yost reacted to it. Dadgummit.
A little excited there.
Strong words there, Ned. Eusebio lifts a high foul off the right field line, back out of play.
Ned just knows a little bit about excitement when he's not coaching third base for the Atlanta Braves. He's been seen in the pit crew for Dale Earnhardt.
There's auto racing aficionados. There's a fly ball along the right field line. Jordan in a hurry. Number 2. At number 3, that's the image. Wait, I wanted to ask you about this Earnhardt thing. We're going to the 7th inning. 3-2, Atlanta. Braves 3, Astros 2. We head into the late innings from the Astrodome. Here's the new era Sportscaps in-game box score. And for Atlanta, Brett Boone, 2 hits, and he was the one with 2 down and nobody on who got the rally started in the 6th inning with his 2nd hit. Swing and a miss by Ricky Gutierrez, trying to get the Astros started. Nobody is out on deck yet, but nobody warming up in the Astros bullpen. Mike Hampton is, I'm in the whole wrong page here. Mike Hampton's on the mound. Brian Hunter, the hitter. And that's low and outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Hunter, Perez, and Hernandez coming out. Brett Boone, the man they said just could not hit the top pitches. 2 hits against Lima Wednesday, and 2 today, including the big one that got around his start, and they ended up walking the MVP candidate, Chipper Jones, and then Brian Jordan made them pay. And he's been making them pay. Starting in game 2, he had 2 RBIs in that ball game, and 3, the big 3 today. 5 RBIs in the last 2 games for Brian Jordan.
Bobby Cox made one little change in his lineup from the first game to the second. He flip-flopped Fusco and Jordan. And it was Jordan with a 2-out base hit that got him going in that game.
On the inside corner, Hunter is caught looking. Strike 3. The 8th strikeout for Mike Hampton.
Number 12, Eddie Perez.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent. Now here is Eddie Perez. That's low for a ball. Andrew Jones also struck out to end the 6th inning after Jordan's 3-run homer. That was the 8th. Now Hunter is the 9th strikeout for Mike Hampton. Hampton giving up that 3-run homer. The last time he allowed a home run was in mid-September to J.D. Drew of St. Louis. That's called a strike. He finished up the year, and in his last 31 and a third innings, Drew was the only one who hit a home run against him. 1-1 the count. Curveball is ripped into left field for a base hit. Perez gets his first hit, the 6th hit all told for Atlanta.
One of the things you got to love about these 2 starters today, though, is, you know, starting a ball game is almost like reading a 9-inning novel. There's some chapters in there that you don't like, and you just have to turn the page. Tom Glavine did it after the bottom of the 1st inning when he gave up a couple of runs. Mike Hampton's got to do that now. He gave up the lead. He gave up the 3 spot in the top of the 6th, but you got to forget about that. Turn the page, go on, put up a 0 on the top of the 7th. Hope your offense can help.
Jose Hernandez. And Gutierrez gets the out at second. What a play. A spectacular diving grab, and then equally as spectacular, his ability to get up and get the ball to second base.
That's about as good as it can get for Ricky Gutierrez right there. He cannot go to his right any further. He can't get up any quicker. He makes the perfect throw to Biggio. And at this point in the ball game, the top of the 7th, Mike Hampton very appreciative of that. He may not have a whole lot left in that gas tank. He's thrown a lot of innings this year. He's been out there in some big situations all year, particularly the last month or so. And getting that fielder's choice right there is a big boost for him.
Well, now, while Hernandez was up there, Howard Battle had come out on deck, but after the force out, Battle went back to the dugout, and now Walt Weiss has come out. Switch hitter. Weiss is going to bat with Tom Glavine. Glavine, who was up over 100 pitches through 6 innings. They got Mulholland ready to go in the bullpen, and Glavine is finished for the day. This is, for Tom Glavine, an early departure.
I think why Bobby Cox is going with Walt Weiss here, he'll probably double switch. Weiss will probably go into the game as a defensive replacement, and he doesn't want to give up with his only right-handed hitter on the bench today, strictly right-handed, that being Battle in case they tie the game. We might need him later on against the left-handed Billy Wagner.
He's certainly not doing it based on Weiss's success in the past against Hampton. Weiss has only 3 hits in 26 career at-bats against Hampton. 3-2, Atlanta is leading. 2 down, runner at first. That's too low. 1 ball and 1 strike.
You're saying he might as well have left Tom Glavine up there, huh?
Well, I think Glavine's had more success against Hampton.
There were a couple of times the manager tell me to go ahead and you can go ahead and hit, but you're done pitching. I don't want to watch you throw anymore, but go ahead and swing the bat.
The shortstop, Gutierrez. A little bit of an easier play that time with the force out of Hernandez. Still 3-2, middle of the 7th. Terry Mulholland coming in from the bullpen. We'll be back. Atlanta 3, Houston 2 as we go to the last of the 7th inning. The new era Sportscaps in-game box score for the Astros. And not a whole lot. Ken Caminiti, 2 more hits, another RBI. Terry Mulholland, the veteran left-hander, on to face Gutierrez. And he misses low for ball 1. The Atlanta bullpen very busy. Mike Hampton due up next, and he is out in the on-deck circle. Gutierrez looks at a called strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. And it's interesting who's up in the bullpen. Right-hander Greg Maddux up in the bullpen, along with Russ Springer out there. Mulholland this year had neither a win nor a loss against Houston, but his ERA against them was 6.75. As Sutcliffe expected. Walt Weiss did stay in to play shortstop. There was the little stronger defense in place of Jose Hernandez. Jose Hernandez and Mulholland were both acquired from the Cubs just before the trading deadline. Slow chop. They go right up to Weiss immediately. Going to have to hurry just in time to get Gutierrez. A little faster runner might have had a shot on that one.
Well, Bobby Cox, as usual, knows exactly what he's doing. He brings in the left-hander right here because he does not want the left-handed bats on the bench for Larry Dierker to come into the ball game. He wanted to see Gutierrez hit right here. He wanted to see a right-handed pinch hitter and then get back to Craig Biggio. If he brings in the right-handed reliever, then Larry Dierker goes to the left-handed bats, and they're a lot more powerful. You got Spires, you got Darrell Ward, and you got Stan Javier.
There's Spires. Keeps him off the bench. Now Russ Johnson is going to be used as a pinch hitter. Johnson hit .282, 5 homers, 23 RBIs, a middle infielder. Did a pretty good job for the Astros. Played a lot of third base while Caminiti was out against left-handed pitching. Played some second base when Biggio became an outfielder for a little while. Biggio's on deck. General Ward also, left-handed slugger who homered in game 1 of this series, kept on the bench here with Mulholland in the game. That's too low. 1 ball and no strikes. So both starting pitchers are now out of the game. Tom Glavine went 6 innings, allowing 2 runs, 5 hits. Hampton, 7 innings, 3 runs allowed. 1 ball, 1 strike to Johnson. For Hampton, 1 pitch that he'd like to take back. It was just launched by Brian Jordan. On the inside for a called strike with a cut fastball. 1 ball and 2 strikes now. Jose Cabrera warming up in the Houston bullpen. That's foul off to the right. Johnson from LSU. The intercollegiate baseball powerhouses, 1994. He set an LSU record by hitting .410, the first-team All-America that year. And the slow curveball bounced foul. Lunging for it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 26 years old. He was one of those compensation draft picks in the June '94 draft. Next ball, and he fouls that one away. So he battles it out here with Mulholland. Mulholland did a great job after coming over to the Atlanta Braves. 8 starts, 8 relief appearances. He was 4-2 with a 2.98 earned run average. Curve and a little bit high. 2-2. It's Bagwell. Today he's been hit by a pitch. He struck out. He was walked. That one is slammed down the left field line. It's a fair ball. extra bases. Williams will throw into third. Johnson standing at second with a double as the possible tying run.
The go-ahead run's going to come to home plate in Craig Biggio. I just wonder, though, if it's not going to be Greg Maddux coming into the ball game. He's not throwing down there like he's just getting in some work. There's the double from Johnson down in the corner. He does exactly what Larry Dierker was hoping he would do. Now we'll see what Bobby Cox is going to do. Maddux has pitched in the postseason before out of the pen. He got a save last year in Game 5 against San Diego.
Bobby Cox is going to go for his 4-time Cy Young winner. Greg Maddux is coming in from the bullpen with Biggio coming up. The tying run at second. We'll be back. And the Astros are looking for that heroic hit now against the great Greg Maddux. Maddux, as Rick Sutcliffe mentioned, pitched in relief and got a save against the Padres last year in the League Championship Series, Game 5. As I recall, that was the game where Kevin Brown also came in relief, which did not work out so well. Brown gave it up. There's the possible tying run. Russ Johnson at second base. Biggio against Maddux. And a base hit could tie the ball game. And the crowd chanting Biggio's name. He has had pretty fair success against Maddux over the years, and he has faced him many, many times. Called a strike on the outside.
This is a situation right here that people will be talking about all winter long. Biggio, Maddux. Who's going to be the hero in this spot? Who's going to want to talk about it? Who's not going to want to hear anything about it?
Johnson away from second. Biggio is 1 for 3. Derek Bell on deck. One ball, one strike. In the first game on Tuesday against Maddux, Biggio went 1 for 4. Maddux threw 110 pitches in that game. He's had 2 days of rest, and he is scheduled as the starting pitcher on Sunday if there is a Game 5. Now, Larry Dierker is out of the Houston dugout. He wants to send in a runner. Glenn Barker is probably his fastest man on the bench. It's interesting. 2 pitches were thrown to Biggio before he got Barker in there. Sort of a mystery.
Well, I tell you what, too, Larry Dierker had to come halfway out to home plate to get the home plate umpire Mark Hirschbeck's attention. That's how loud this crowd is right now.
Maddux, the first game loser. The Astros did not have a problem getting men on base against them. They just had problems getting them home. And that's what Biggio's trying to do right here. Get Barker home. Barker's very fast. Got a long lead. Kickoff coming with Rice breaking in, but no throw. Barker stole 17 bases in the regular season. Fought 6 times. There's that element of speed, the distraction for the pitcher now. Two and 1.
On the 1-0 pitch to Craig Biggio, when Johnson was still the second base runner, Maddux never even looked back at him. He stayed focused on the glove. He delivered the pitch, even though it was a ball. He didn't care at all about the base runner. Now with Barker back there, his attention's divided a little bit. Possibly he'll make a mistake with his location.
There he goes.
We talked about it early in the game. The managers in a 1-run ball game may be the difference right here. Dierker taking a chance. He said, Barker, if you think you can make it, go. Well, he didn't make it by much, but guess who's standing on third with just one out?
Now the infield comes in, except for Brett Boone, the second baseman. The pitch was a ball. It is 3-1. Now they are ordering Boone to come in as well. Strike 2 at the knees. Keeping the ball down, trying to make him hit it on the ground. 3 balls, 2 strikes to Biggio. He has not seen anything even close to being fat in this at-bat. Both of the strikes have been borderline, right around the knees.
I've always wondered how hitters have been able to make those adjustments. He's been seeing a left-handed sinker ball all afternoon. Now he's got a right-handed sinker ball, and both of them with great changeups.
Did he swing? No! And the Braves just cannot believe it. Dana DeMute, the first base umpire, said no, and Bobby Cox comes out of the dugout. Wow. Now from here, it looked like he swung at it.
Well, this is a little cut fastball right here. Maddox will normally throw to a left-hander. Watch it start out at Biggio, and then it comes back. We'll get a look from the overhead here, take a check. I tell you what, there's no doubt about it, that's a swing. If it's in Atlanta, it's an easy call. But this crowd right here might have had something to do with Dana DeMute saying no.
Maddox demanding an appeal and then reacting to the denial of that appeal, and the whole Braves dugout outraged by that call. Now you've got the great speed at third in Barker and the veteran base stealer at first in Biggio, and Bill Spires, that left-handed hitter you were talking about, that Bobby Cox wanted to keep on the bench at the start of the inning by using Mulholland. It is Spires who enters the game, and he has been an outstanding pinch hitter.
Now a really tough decision for Bobby Cox. I'm not going to knock Mike Remlins or anything. He's had a fine big league career, but do you take Greg Maddux out to bring in Mike Remlinger? It looks like that's what Bobby Cox is going to do.
Well, and that's the other aspect of it is the ability of Maddux to hold a base stealer like Biggio on base. Not very good. And Remlinger, the lefty, might have a little more success. So Cox at the mound. That's Remlinger, the left-hander. Springer, the right-hander, in the Atlanta bullpen. The best laid plans. He wanted Spires and Ward and those lefties, as you pointed out, not in the game. So he brought in Mulholland. Russ Johnson foiled the strategy of pinch hit double. Then Maddux in, but he gives up the steal, then the walk and the disputed check swing. Maddux is out. We'll be back. Atlanta 3, the Astros 2, last of the 7, but the Astros have the possible tying run at third base, the possible go-ahead run at first base, only 1 out. Bill Spires, the left-handed pinch hitter, up, and the left-handed Mike Remlinger coming on to face him. There is Barker at third base, and Biggio at first. Biggio had 28 steals in the regular season. They've got a hitter at the plate who is a very fine hit-and-run man. And you got a base stealer at first. And a lot of possibilities. Explosive speed in Barker at third base. The middle infield, double play deck. And he fouls the first one back and out of play. And you talked about a tight ball game, Rick, at the very outset of our telecast that could turn on managers' decisions. And in this half inning, Bobby Cox has used 3 pitchers, including his game 1 starter, Greg Maddux. Larry Dierker has used 2 pinch hitters and a pinch runner. And there's been no scoring yet with only 1 out. He laid off the high fastball and appealed to the third base umpire, Paul Schreiber, denied. 1 ball, 1 strike. Now surely Remlins is only on to face this 1 hitter because next up is the slugger, the right-handed batter, Jeff Bagwell. They've got Russ Springer, a right-hander, up in their bullpen. There's Bagwell, looming large in the on-deck circle. And now Remlinger ahead of him. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Remlinger just had an outstanding season. Springer is ready, just occasionally throwing a pitch in the Atlanta bullpen. Remlinger had the outstanding season, but the Astros roughed him up in the 9th inning in Game 1 on Tuesday with 4 runs. Spires, who had started that game and had 2 hits, was lifted in the 9th inning when Remlinger came in the game in favor of Stan Javier, and Javier got a base hit to start that rally, or fuel the rally against Remlinger on Tuesday. Durker choosing not to look at Javier here.
We talked about the matchup between Maddox and Craig Biggio. Who was going to win that? We've talked about Bobby Cox and Larry Durker. Right now, I'm thinking about the call Dana Demuth did not make, though. That was a swing on Biggio's part.
2-2 to Spires.
It's a lot different situation. Man on third, 2 outs instead of first and third and only 1 out.
Demuth made the call. I'm wondering if Demuth himself was surprised that Mark Hirschbeck did not make the call. He just didn't get a good look at it.
That was more than a check swing. I mean,
absolutely.
He's just strong enough to hit that ball in the gap with the swing he put on that pitch.
Left center. Into the alleyway. Base hit. It's tied. Biggio streaking to third.
Take a look at Jose Lima. You think he's not excited about that? Well, it was in the last weekend season against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Billy Spires got a pinch hit in that ball game to extend a 1-0 lead for Lima to 3-0. That was Lima's 21st win of the year. It was also Billy Wagner's 39th save of the year. So Spires lives for those situations. That's why the Houston Astros keep him around.
Well, now you've got Bagwell up, and Bobby Cox is going to stay with his left-hander. Now, in the 9th inning on Tuesday, with a runner at first and a runner at third, he had Remlinger walk Bagwell intentionally. Bagwell has 2 career hits in 4 career at-bats against Remlinger, both of them home runs. First and third, 1 out. Ball 1. Strikes him with a changeup.
Yeah, you think you'd want to go soft right here or hard in. You want to get Bagwell to pull the ball. You want him to pull it on the ground because that's the way you've got your infield defense set up. That's the only chance you've got of getting the double play and getting out of here with the score still tied.
And that's out of play off to the right. 1 ball, 1 strike.
What really turned around the career for Remlinger, he was always a guy that had trouble with rotation, but he paid close attention to today's starting pitcher for Atlanta, Tom Glavine, and how he controlled the outer half of the plate. That's been the big key for Remlinger. He's won 10 games this year as a reliever for Atlanta.
Another changeup. Too low. 2-1 to Bagwell. Caminetti on deck. Actually, talking about the numbers of Remlinger against Bagwell and Springer against Bagwell, and the reason Bobby Cox did not go to Springer. Now they're going to go ahead and walk Bagwell intentionally with a runner at first again, just as they did on Tuesday with Remlinger. It is Springer against whom Bagwell has had 2 career homers in 4 career at-bats. So Cox did not like those numbers from his right-hander against Bagwell. So now Caminetti, who has hit 2 home runs in this series already, including one against Remlinger. The last time he faced him in Atlanta on Tuesday, a 3-run shot. And then, of course, the home run, the only hit Wednesday against Kevin Millwood. So here is Caminetti. He has singled home run today, singled again, and grounded into a double play. The bases are loaded in a tie game. Changeup. 1 ball, no strikes. Caminetti 6 for 10 in the series. Biggio, Spires, who got the game-tying pinch hit, and Bagwell. The Houston bench has come up big time in this inning. Another changeup. 1 ball, 1 strike. The pinch hitter Johnson, who started the rally with a pinch hit double.
Exactly where Remlinger wanted that pitch right there. He went on the outer half. Would like to have had it down a little bit to get that ground ball. And then we saw him before try to pull the ball until he got 2 strikes on him. And then with 2 strikes, he used the whole field.
And the fastball up and away. 2-1. Well, Remlinger's just nowhere near where he wants to be with any of his pitchers here. Remlinger is the 3rd pitcher of the inning. 2 pinch hits in the inning for the Astros off the bench, plus a steal by a pinch runner. Again, the changeup very high. He's not right. He's off.
Well, just like that home run off the bat of Brian Jordan turned down the volume control here in the Astrodome, somebody just turned it all the way up.
Everybody at the Astrodome standing. Oh, man. It was 3-1. He had nowhere to put him. He came after him, and somehow he got that pitch past him.
That's a big league fastball right there. You got a hitter that's as hot as he can possibly be. He's looking heater. He gets heater. It's in the strike zone, and he's not able to put it in play. That tells you the type of stuff that Remlinger had on that flash fastball there.
Bases loaded, wild. And he struck him out with a changeup, and that one he did put where he wanted it.
That's some incredible pitching right there. The last 2 in particular on the part of Remlinger. He challenged him with the heater. He got away with it. But he saw on the 3-1 pitch, Caminetti was out in front on that fastball. You got to have a lot of confidence in that changeup, and that's the lesson that Mike Remlinger has learned from Tom Glavine. You got to have confidence to throw it, and if you miss with it, you got to miss down. You do that, you got a chance they're going to expand the zone. You miss up with it, only bad things can happen.
So the Astros with 1 already home. Bases loaded, 1 out, and their hottest hitter in this series, Ken Caminetti. In the rematch, he got Remlinger with a 3-run homer Tuesday. Remlinger gets him this time. Now Matt Niesky. A changeup down where he wants it. It is 0-1. Niesky 0 for 3 in the game. Niesky has only faced Remlinger 2 times in his career and had a base hit in each of those 2 at-bats. Biggio, Spires, and Bagwell, the base runners.
I'll tell you why there's no pitching change right now, though. It's called respect for Darrell Ward. Bobby Cox wants to leave him right where he's at on the bench.
And now the fastball fouled out of play. That changeup followed by a 93-mile-an-hour heater, and it is 0-2.
Might even get you out, huh, partner? That's pretty good pitching right there. And there's a pretty good hitter. All year long, teams have been trying to pry him loose from the Houston Astros. They tell everybody, you got a first baseman. Darrell Ward cannot play for you. Houston's not going to give up on him. They'll find a place for his bat.
Popped up. Shallow right center. Andrew Jones and Jordan both there. Andrew Jones, and that's the inning. So after all of that, The Astros get just the one to tie the game. Top of the order coming for Atlanta. Williams, Boone, and Chipper Jones. It is 3-3. Now for the Astros, Cabrera, young right-hander, and he had great success coming up in the minor leagues late in the season, as you can see by those numbers. Almost a strikeout per inning, and 28 strikeouts and only 9 walks in 29 and a third innings. A whole new outfield alignment behind him. Cabrera has been around a while in the minor leagues. He's 27 years old, from the Dominican Republic. He's been pitching professionally since 1991. Gutierrez is going to really have to hurry. Great speed for Williams. He is in safe. That was one of those real close calls at first base.
Well, we mentioned what a great play Gutierrez made on the ball that Jose Hernandez hit. I didn't think he got himself in very good position on this one. He broke in to begin with, and then when he went back, he did not get everything on that throw that he could have. And the reason that Williams was just able to beat that out by a half step.
Now Brett Boone. Williams, that's a guy who can steal a base. Williams with 19 steals during the season. He stole a base in the first inning in Game 2 on Wednesday that led to an Atlanta run that put them ahead in that game. Brett Boone has had 2 big hits in this one. He bunts the ball, but foul back to the screen. In the Houston outfield, Bill Spires stays in the game after hitting for Bell. He's in left field. Spires, who drove in the tying run. Barker, who pinch runs for Johnson, the pinch runner now in center field, and Everett has moved from center field over to right field. Cabrera, the new pitcher, is put into Matt Nieske's spot in the batting order, the 5th spot in the order. There goes Williams. The hit and run, but the ball fouled back to the screen. And with a right-handed hitter up there, the shortstop, nonetheless, was the man covering at second base.
Craig Biggio will usually be the captain on something like that. And when he saw the location, it was going to be a fastball away. He knew that all Boone could do with that pitch was to hit it to the opposite side. He put on the sign for Gutierrez to cover the bag so that he could stay home in case the ball was hit his way.
The Astros bullpen is very busy. There's Cabrera, 4-2. Chipper Jones, the Braves slugger, the 45 home run man, is on deck. Along the right field line, toward the bullpen. That one is in foul territory. Not playable for Carl Everett. 0-2. Brett Boone singled in the first inning in his first at bat of the game, but then was doubled up on a ground ball by Chipper Jones. Struck out in the in the 4th inning, but in the 6th inning with 2 down and nobody on, he hit a single against Mike Hampton, and that was the beginning of the Braves' 3-run rally that put them ahead. Chipper Jones followed that up with a walk, and then Jordan, on the first pitch he saw, crushed one to left center. Nobody out, runner at first. 3-3 tie. Struck him out. He chased one well up out of the strike zone.
Youngster showing a little bit of poise right there. He reaches back for a little bit extra here, and how you know that? He had the high leg kick right there. He's been going with the slide step because he knows Williams is trying to get to second base. He kind of gave him a couple of looks just to freeze him there at first base. Went with the high kick, got the little extra, and the first out of the inning.
Chipper Jones. Fastball for a called strike. Chipper has grounded into a double play. He's had an infield single, and then he walked ahead of Jordan's home run in the 6th inning. 3-3 in the 8th inning. Changeup. 0-2 the count. Doug Henry, the right-hander, Trevor Miller, the left-hander, up in the Astros bullpen.
You just never know how a guy is going to respond in situations like this, but Cabrera just outstanding. He got a little ground ball base hit. He wasn't fazed by it at all.
Williams at first. Looking back. Cabrera has thrown 7 pitches in this inning, 7 strikes. He struck him out. Well, when he got the 2 strikes, back to the fastball.
Well, what about pitching around Chipper Jones, huh? He says, not me, not today. 0-2, he comes right on the outside corner with all he's got. Chipper staying back just a little bit to protect for that changeup. Couldn't catch up with it.
Well, Brian Jordan has given them reason not to pitch around Chipper Jones. Jordan with 5 RBIs the last 2 games, including his 3-run homer today. And with Jordan coming up now, there is Durker to the mound to talk to his young right-hander, Cabrera. Eusebio alongside. He's got the right-hander, Doug Henry, up in the bullpen. Henry, one of the heroes in game 1 of this series, who pitched in the 7th and 8th innings. He got Jordan on a line drive to the right fielder to end the 8th inning of that ball game. Here's Henry, the right-hander. Miller, the left-hander. Brian Jordan came up in the 6th inning with Houston leading 2-0. First pitch he saw, and that was just a no doubt about it shot. The outfield has never even moved.
Don Baylor, make him get it up. Finally, really the only mistake that Mike Hampton made, that was that cutter. He got all the strikeouts on, but he did not get it down.
Fastball and strike. Brian Jordan, who before every game, either the trainers or his personal trainer, Bob Kersey, that comes in, starts maneuvering and stretching and pulling and twisting his right hand. He says it's excruciatingly painful, but it seems to help him get more power behind his swing once the game starts. He's much more confident in his ability to drive the ball. And now the Astros have seen that firsthand. They've seen more than they want to see. 3-run homer against Hampton, who's now out of the game. Right up the middle, another base hit for Jordan. So Jordan has had 3 hits and 5 RBIs these last 2 games after watching them want to pitch to anybody but Chipper Jones in game 1.
Well, even with one hand the last couple of months of the season, Brian Jordan was still able to drive in 115 runs. He's in a lot of pain. He's not at 100%, but we talked about Mike Hampton having that football player's mentality and that toughness. Well, that man right there, he played in the Pro Bowl and the NFL. He knows a lot about toughness.
2 on, 2 out. And the Braves a base hit away from perhaps regaining the lead. Andrew Jones has never done a whole lot of hitting in these division series, but he's had 3 hits the last 2 games. His only 3. High and outside. Jones got an infield hit to short in the 2nd, flied out to right center in the 4th, struck out after the Jordan home run in the 6th. He is 1 for 3 today. Powerful right-handed hitter. And a fastball for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Gerald Williams should easily be able to score on a base hit to the outfield with his great speed. Jordan also with great speed at first. Keith Lockhart has come out on deck with Brian Hunter due up next. Two and 1. Here's Lockhart out on deck. Three to 3, 8th inning. 2 down, 2 on. That one caught the outside. Well, he hasn't tried anything clever here with Andrew Jones. 4 straight fastballs.
And the book on Andrew Jones is that he can hit anybody's fastball. He loves that pitch, but as of yet, he's not swung the bat.
Well, we've also seen him throw a pretty good changeup in this inning. 2 and 2. The crowd rises to its feet. That is pulled foul. And he went through all those fastballs, went to the changeup, and a good one down probably below the knees. Pitch
that has given Andrew Jones all the trouble in the early part of his career has been that breaking ball in the dirt. We've not seen a good one out of Cabrera as of yet.
Fastball changeup. What he's been featuring. Struck him out. He went back to the fastball. Cabrera strikes out the side. 2 men left. Everett coming up 3-3.
The Astrodome tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central, 10 Pacific on ESPN. At the same time, Mets Diamondbacks Game 4 from Shea Stadium on ESPN 2. Later tonight, Mets Diamondbacks Game 3 from Shea on NBC at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Carl Everett against Mike Remlinger, the 33-year-old left-hander still in there. The former first-round draft choice of the San Francisco Giants. Been involved in some major trades in his time, including one that sent Kevin Mitchell to Seattle. And it is 1-1 as Everett back to his familiar right side against the left-hander. There's Billy Wagner up in the Astros bullpen. He'll be ready if needed. Remlinger came to the Braves last November from Cincinnati along with Brett Boone. That was the Denny Nagle trade. Change up low and outside. You saw Everett bluff the bunt. 2-1. John Rocker, the left-hander, the big closer, and the right-hander, Russ Springer, in the Atlanta bullpen. Chasing that low changeup. 2 balls, 2 strikes. I think he's had a couple of those changeups very high in the strike zone. To Ken Caminetti, he's had everyone right down where he wants it. 2-2. Fastball just missing off the outside. 3-2. The big at bat after Spires tied the ball game against Remlinger in the 7th. His ability to come from behind on a 3-1 count and strike out Caminetti. And he strikes out Everett with a fastball. And there is one away. Coming up next, right after the ball game, Sports Center with Bob Lee, Dave Revson, and Brian Kenny. We'll have the complete post-game story from the Astrodome on Sports Center. Stay tuned for that. And a preview of the Diamondbacks-Mets 3rd game. With the latest on the condition of Mike Piazza, who is not in the lineup, apparently, for the Mets today. That was at least the early word out of Shea Stadium. 0-1 to Tony Eusebio. And a tough day for a hitter here at the Astrodome. There have been 20 strikeouts all told in this game. Change up in the dirt for a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. 12 Atlanta Braves have gone down on strikes. Hampton had 9 in his 7 innings. 8 Astros have struck out. Greg Maddux used as a reliever in this game. And that's a called strike on the outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. If you ask Maddux, there were actually 21 strikeouts because he struck out Biggio, if you ask him, and if you ask us, because we had the videotape to look at. But it was ruled a check swing. Just missing. Remlinger nibbling at that outside edge. 2-2 the count.
He's another one of those guys that Don Gullett, the pitching coach for the Cincinnati Reds, got turned around. 6 times in his career, he had more walks than strikeouts, so Gullett got a hold of him.
That change up. Brent Boone in the shallow outfield throws out Eusebio. Eusebio 0 for 3 with a bases loaded walk. 2 down, nobody out.
Number 12, Ricky Gutierrez.
Got a man on second right here. Off he goes. Where was that pitch? Pretty close. Maddux looked in at the home plate umpire for that. Now he looks at the first base umpire. Make the call. Give me the call. You got to be kidding me. I think that's what he said.
Yeah. Yeah, I read lips too, and that's what I thought he said. 1 ball and no strikes, the count to Gutierrez.
I remember early in Greg Maddux's career, his mom came to the ballpark one day and he yelled some things, and she said, "Greg, please don't ever do that again." There's emotion on that matter.
Maddux, who used to wear the glasses when he pitched, and because of the way he pitched, I guess, and the look, people consider him sort of a very studious, non-athletic type, but the competitive fire that burns within is quite something else again. Nobody wants to beat you any worse than Maddox. I mean, nobody.
How about him setting aside his pride, telling Bobby Cox, you need me today. You've only got 9 pitchers on the staff. You had to go with 3 catchers. If you need me, I'm available. I'll give up Game 5. I would imagine now, because of the relief outing, you'll probably see Kevin Millwood in that Game 5 if needed.
Gutierrez just got a piece of that one. 1-2 the count. Craig Biggio and Bagwell. Each of them has scored a run today, but it's Bagwell who seems to be the guy that Bobby Cox does not want to pitch to. More than Dierker not wanting to pitch to Chipper Jones. He laid off the high fastball. 2-2. In this game, Bagwell's been hit by a pitch and has been walked twice, once intentionally, and he's been walked twice intentionally in this series with a runner at first base.
Taking a look at both Bagwell and Biggio. Houston's used to being in the playoffs, but they're in a position now where they got to prove they belong.
On the right field line, foul. Deep down the line, but very much foul. 2-2. Astros had a 2-0 lead in this game from the first inning on until that shocking 3-run homer by Jordan. I mean, 50,000 people at the Astrodome were stunned into silence. The Astros tied it in the 7th. That's where we are now. 3-3. Last of the 8th. Time taken. On deck is Glenn Barker. Now the 9th place hitter. 2 down, nobody on. Red Boone. And that is the inning. So an easy 8th inning for Remlinger. Now the 9th inning coming up. 3-3 from Houston. And the Clarington game summary: 3 runs, 8 hits for Atlanta, 3 runs, 7 hits, 1 error for Houston. Tom Glavine had a real struggle in the first inning, but then settled in. Greg Maddox worked in relief for one controversial batter in this game. Mike Hampton was breezing along with a shutout until the 6th inning 3-run homer by Brian Jordan. Then Bill Spires with a pinch hit RBI single in the 7th to equalize. And now the 9th inning. Game 3 of this series. Keith Lockhart, the pinch hitter for Brian Hunter against Jose Cabrera. Lockhart at .261 average. Lockhart was the most frequently used pinch hitter of the year by Bobby Cox. He had 15 pinch hit at bat, 15 pinch hits in 61 pinch hit at bats. And the count is 3-0. Eddie Perez on deck. The Astros bullpen is busy. That's a strike on the outside. 3-1. Billy Wagner, the left-hander. Doug Henry, the right-hander. Up in the Houston bullpen. 3-2.
Lockhart's always been a guy that likes to hook that fastball, even though it's down and away. Most of the time, it's a big guy with long arms that has the ability to do that. He's also a guy that can go out and get that fastball away and pull it.
Back to the screen. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Hey, what though? We're seeing a pretty good fastball today out of Mr. Cabrera. He just blew away Andrew Jones with a fastball. It looks like he's doing the same thing with Lockhart even after falling behind.
And he does. He blows him away. He has struck out 4 in 1 1/3 innings.
We've seen a 4-seamer, which is the straight one, away to a right-hander. When he goes away from a left-hander, there's a little bit of movement. You can see the glove of Eusebio going away, see the ball going up and away. 4-seamer, 2-seamer, good changeup. Pretty good combination.
Here's Perez. He's 1 for 3. And the off-speed pitch. Bounce foul.
There's that breaking ball I wondered if he had. Thought he might have used that on Andrew Jones, but he didn't need it.
24 pitches total. 19 for strikes. Strike 2. A perfect pitch. Knee high outside. Eddie Perez walked halfway back to the dugout.
There's a lot of guys that can pitch when their team's behind, and it really doesn't mean much. To come out and pitch in this situation is big for the Houston Astros.
longtime minor leaguer Jose Cabrera. Struck him out. That's 5 strikeouts. Everybody that he's retired since he came out of the 8th inning, he has struck out. And now Ryan Klesko, the slugging left-handed batter, coming up.
Not only just striking out players, he's striking out some pretty good names as well. Chipper Jones, Brett Boone.
Here's Klesko, and with the left-handed hitter in there, Dierker's got, rather Vern Rule is on his way out, dispatched by Larry Dierker. They got the left-hander. Billy Wagner ready now. In a home game that's tied into the 9th inning, there will be no save for Billy Wagner to get. The best that he can get today is to save a tie. If the game is still tied after this inning, 1 run for the Astros. If they ever go ahead again, the game is over.
I'm a little surprised we don't see Wagner in that situation, too. I know Cabrera's throwing well, but they've told us because of the injury to Wagner's elbow, when they get him up, they want to bring him in.
Well, one thing, Dierker, with that elbow, and I talked to him about this before the game Wednesday, in light of Buck Showalter not using Matt Manti with the bases loaded in Game 1 in Phoenix. And what he said was he feels if you get him up and bring him in the 9th, you're also going to bring him in the 10th. And he prefers just to use him for 1 inning if he's got the chance to do it. That's a strike on the outside to Klesko, staying away from his power, which is considerable. On the other hand, he might come in and just get the 1 out and might have to only get the 1 out. Hello. That got there in a hurry.
Fastball up and in's got Klesko checking for leaks. He thinks that ball went through him.
Back to the outside, a foul tip. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Klesko. All hard stuff. And the crowd up to its feet. Crowd of about 50,000 at the Astrodome today. Here it comes. Struck him out. Jose Cabrera, un lanzador maravilloso. He has struck out 6 in 2 innings. Last of the 9th inning. 1 run will win it. It is 3-3. Now the big right-hander from LSU, Russ Springer. 30 years of age. On in relief, the 5th Atlanta pitcher of the game. Barker leads it off, the speedster, as we see Springer's numbers, and they are excellent. Only 31 hits allowed and 47 in the 3rd innings.
Real good control. The Houston Astros know a lot about this guy. They had him in '97.
Barker shows bunt, takes low for ball 1. He was part of a very strong Astros bullpen in '97. Way inside. 2-0. Ryan Klesko stays in the game, plays first base. He's pulled in very shallow. Remember, Barker has extraordinary speed. Chipper Jones plays him very shallow at 3rd as well. That's a strike. 2-1. Barker taking all the way. Let's see how they played for the very fast Glenn Barker. Inside. 3-1. I mean, this is the last guy in the ballpark if they would ever want to walk in this spot. I mean, he can create all kinds of trouble if he can somehow get on base. Barker hit .288 in only 73 at-bats this year. That's a called strike. 3-2. John Rocker and Kevin McGlinchey up in the Atlanta bullpen. Hot foul and out of play. That's Rocker, the left-hander, and McGlinchey, the right-hander, warming up for Atlanta. The series is tied at 1 game apiece. And this pivotal third game is tied in the last of the ninth inning, 3-3. Barker lifts the foul again out of play. And it doesn't get any tighter than that. I mean, the team that loses this game will have to win the next two. Barker again going up after that high fastball. Remember, strike 2 was a fairly high strike.
That could be a lot of confidence gained by this win today. The Atlanta Braves, you say, hey, we came into your house, the Astrodome, and we took a game from you. We know we're going back to Atlanta if needed.
Struck him out. So an important man to keep off the base paths, and Springer managed to do so. A reminder, SportsCenter will follow the ball game with Bob Lee, Dave Redson, and Brian Kenny. And SportsCenter will bring you right back here to the Astrodome for the post-game story. Also a preview of tonight's Game 3 from Shea Stadium, the Diamondbacks and the Mets. In the 2-minute drill, Chris Berman on Week 5 in the NFL. SportsCenter after the game. Craig Biggio, he singled in the first, scored a run. To get the controversial walk in the 7th when they tied the game. The big curveball low and outside. Overall, 1 for 3, but he's been on base twice. And each time that he's reached base, the Astros scored in that inning. And the Biggio chant stars again here at the Astrodome. Chase has got a high fastball. Right field, Jordan. Out number 2, so they keep Biggio off the bases. So 2 key men to keep off the base paths in this spot, and Springer has managed to do it. Now Bill Spires.
Talk about key men. This game would not be tied if it were not for the base hit and the bat of Billy Spires. He tied it up. Houston's hoping now that he can give him the lead. If nothing else, just get on base for Jeff Bagwell, who's in the on-deck circle. Boy, for Houston to win this game and realize that they won a game in which they faced Tom Glavine and Greg Maddux, how huge would that be?
It's too low to Spires. And the job for Spires right now is, however he can do it, keep the inning alive for Jeff Bagwell to have a chance to end it. Bagwell would be next. Check swing, an accidental ground ball. And Walt Weiss throws him out. Bagwell will have to wait until the 10th. 3-3, and we are going overtime from the Astrodome. The pivotal third game, a series tied at a game apiece, but the third game just will not come to a conclusion. Doug Henry will try and hold the line now in the 10th inning. The veteran right-hander, a one-time closer himself, was brilliant in pitching in the 7th and 8th innings in Game 1.
Really not any surprise that these two teams would pitch well in this ball game. Two of the top 3 teams in the National League in ERA all year long. Been the key to their success. It's what got them here, and whoever pitches the best is going to be the guy that goes on into the next set of playoffs.
Walt Weiss, the hitter, up for the second time of the game. He entered as a pinch hitter for Glavine in the 7th inning. Stayed in, plays short, and takes ball 1. Stan Javier, he is now in left field. So Spires leaves the game. Henry put into the 2nd spot of the order, which is due up 9th the next time around. Javier will be due up 3rd in the last half of this inning. 2-0 to Weiss. Gerald Williams and Brett Boone to follow, and if the Braves can get somebody on base, Chipper Jones will bat here in the 10th. 3-3. There's a fastball in there for a strike. You can see Henry at 92 miles an hour. He's got a little pop in that fastball. Jose Cabrera, 2 innings. And if you hadn't heard of him before, you certainly know about him now. 6 strikeouts in 2 innings. The fastball by, and 2-2 to count. The Astros bullpen is busy just in case.
Yeah, but there's somebody missing down there. The kid, Billy Wagner, is not up anymore.
In the air to left center. Barker, and that is one away. In the bullpen, the right-hander, Jay Powell, the left-hander, Trevor Miller. No Billy Wagner up. He was up in the 9th inning for a brief time when Cabrera was on the hill. Talk about his 6 strikeouts. Let's have a look.
Well, he's pretty much pitched like this since he got to the big leagues with Houston this year. He's a perfect 4-0. And as you mentioned before, only 9 base on balls this year. He's thrown strikes.
Gerald Williams, the hitter, and the hard slider from Henry outside. Well, they got Brent Boone, Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones, and the pinch hitter Lockhart, Perez, and finally Ryan Fresco. I mean, he blew away some real big hitters, some of the biggest the Braves had to walk. Fastball is lofted high and foul and out of play by Williams, who is 1 for 4 in the game. 3-3 in the 10th inning.
You usually see these relievers coming in with a little extra velocity, a little bit more adrenaline than what they had during the regular season, but the location is something that was so impressive for me with Cabrera. He could climb the ladder, he could throw a strike when he had to.
That's strike 2. Houston pitchers through the first 9 innings today had 15 strikeouts of Braves hitters. 9 by Hampton and then 6 by that man, Jose Cabrera. 15 strikeouts and 1 walk. And that slider tapped slowly. And there's no play. Williams too fast. As Caminetti wisely held on to the ball. Another infield hit. That's the 2nd infield hit for Gerald Williams today, and the 4th infield hit for the Braves. Now, a pinch runner and an outstanding base stealer, Otis Nixon, on to run for Gerald Williams at first base. And, of course, everybody in the ballpark knows why he's in there.
Even at his age, Otis Nixon's still not only a good base runner, still fast, but he's a smart base runner as well.
Otis had 26 steals this year, caught 7 times. And he is one of the top base stealers of his era. He has had 620 steals in his career. Otis Nixon, now at first base, in there surely to steal a base. He is 40 years old. Boone the hitter. And Henry steps off the slab after waiting a long, long while. Boone backs away. Boone is 2 for 4 in the game. His second hit as Chipper Jones comes out on deck. Boone's second hit was a 2-out, nobody on single in the 6th. It started the 3-run rally, culminating in the 3-run homer by Jordan. It was in the 6th inning. The only walk allowed by Houston pitchers in this game came after Boone's single in the 6th. Chipper Jones ended up walking, and then Jordan struck. Fastball a strike. It is 0-1. Now, you got a base stealer on there, but you have to be mindful of a tough hitter. Your manager, you might think the pitch out could be good. It's 0-1. It's a pretty easy count to pitch out on. And they do pitch out, but Otis, mindful that that's the ideal pitch out spot, did not run.
You've got to have confidence that your pitcher can throw strikes. If you've got a lot of confidence in that, you might come with back-to-back pitch outs. You know Nixon's going to do everything he can to get to second base. He wouldn't have been brought in. Gerald Williams is a pretty good runner. He's not the base stealer Nixon is, but he's got the same kind of speed.
He's going. Swung on and missed. Eusebio, one-hop throw into center field. Nixon digging for third. Here comes a throw by Barker, and it hits him. That hit Nixon. It rolls down the third base line, and Nixon has gotten himself all the way to third. Ned Yost, the third base coach, wearing a microphone. Let's listen in as Nixon was attempting to steal. Fortunately, he was also giving visual signs to Otis Nixon. Now the infielder's in. Runner at third, one out. Chipper Jones on deck. 1-2 to Boone. Had to put him away with a high hard one. Boone got a piece of it.
Last year, the catcher for the Houston Astros was Brad Osmus, one of the best defensive catchers in the game. A guy with a strong, accurate arm. Eusebio had a chance to throw Nixon out right there, but was not a very good throw.
Just did manage to save that slider. Eusebio himself seemed to think that the ball had gotten by him.
Well, the reason he did was because he didn't put a very good effort on himself. You got to get out there in front and block that ball. You can't just throw your glove down there and your bare hand in hopes of keeping it in front of you. You got to have your body in front of that as well.
2-2 to Boone. The changeup for the strikeout. Man, they needed a strikeout there, and he got it. Third time that Boone has struck out today.
Well, he had 112 strikeouts on the year, that being Brett Boone. A pretty good breaking ball right there, off speed, down. Look at that thing moving right there, the splitter, circle change, whatever. It had that tumbling action that split finger or fork ball will have.
Well, Henry used to feature that split-fingered pitch quite often. And that may well have been what it was. Now they're going to go ahead and walk Chipper Jones intentionally. Tempting fate, perhaps, because Brian Jordan has been the hot hitter these last 2 days. He has made them pay anytime they've put Chipper Jones on in front of him these last 2 ball games. 5 RBIs in 2 games for Jordan.
Last year, Brian Jordan had a big year for the St. Louis Cardinals. And as you mentioned, Bob Kersey, his trainer, they just completely rebuilt him as a baseball player. He could never understand. He could always stay healthy as a football player. He never missed a game. But he couldn't play more than 120 baseball games. So they got him to relax. They got him to loosen up. He lost some weight. He learned to run all over again. He even learned to walk different so that he could stay healthy and start producing as he did with that 3-run homer.
Vern Rule out to the mound, the pitching coach. As in this game, Jordan with that spectacular 3-run homer, 417 feet high up into the bleachers in left center. He had an RBI single and a sacrifice fly for RBIs in the Tuesday game.
You just got to figure, though, that Billy Wagner's elbow is just not 100%, nor will it be until this year's over with. Or else it would be him coming in right now. I don't care if it's a left-hand hitter or right-hand hitter. He's got the best strikeout ratio probably in the history of the game. I know it's just incredible. And he would be the guy coming in to face Jordan if it weren't for that elbow.
Wagner, 39 saves, 124 strikeouts in 74 and 2/3 innings. So it's Henry and Jordan. 2 on, 2 out. Ooh, man, that was awfully close. There's Otis Nixon, who got himself to third as a pinch runner with a steal and the throwing error by Eusebio. Chipper Jones, who can steal a base over at first base. Henry retired Jordan in Tuesday's game. Now it is 2-0. And he still has a base to play with, and he doesn't have to give in to Doug Henry. Second base is still open. Andrew Jones on deck. And we've got a huge pitch to make right here. 2 balls and no strikes to Brian Jordan. There's that double fake to third and then the look at first. Jordan, 1 hit in 7 career at-bats against Henry, including the game on Tuesday. 3-3, 10th inning, 2 down. 3-0. Andrew Jones on deck. By the way, we saw Billy Wagner standing down in that bullpen, but he's not throwing. He's just helping protect the bullpen catchers out there. And Jordan gets a 4-pitch walk to load the bases. Chipper Jones to second. Jordan to first. Andrew Jones up with the bases loaded. Jake Powell, the right-hander. Miller, the left-hander. There's Billy Wagner standing and watching. Larry Dierker, the Astros really cannot in any way afford to lose this game. Atlanta with Smoltz tomorrow, either Maddox or Millwood on Sunday if they can get there. Andrew Jones 1 for 4 today. 3 men on, 2 men out. Starts him with a slider, misses with it.
That first pitch so important. You get ahead in the count, home plate will start to grow for you a little bit. You fall behind as Henry did there, it starts to shrink.
Fastball a strike on the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. John Smoltz, tomorrow's starting pitcher, alongside Greg Maddox. Shane Reynolds, who will make his second start of this series tomorrow. Andrew Jones with the bases loaded and 2 down. A 3-3 tie. Fastball popped up foul and back out of play. And they continue to get fastballs by him here. Cabrera struck him out with fastballs in the 8th inning. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And again, this crowd of 48,625 on its feet. Rakes it into left, right to Javier. The side is retired. The Braves leave 3. Remember, they had a man at third and 1 out. They could not get him home. Now, Jeff Bagwell, Ken Caminetti, and Stan Javier coming up. 3-3, last of the 10th. The Astrodome is rocking, nearly 50,000 here, and everybody standing as Jeff Bagwell, their 42 home run man, stands in against Russ Springer. 3 infielders play to the left side of second. High and tight. Now Springer has given up 2 home runs in 4 previous at-bats from Bagwell against him. Fastball at the knees for a strike. Bagwell has walked twice against him and retired twice and hit 2 homers against him. There's Otis Nixon now in left field after he came out as a runner for Gerald Williams. 1-1 to Bagwell. And it is 2-1. Now, you could pitch around Bagwell, risk putting him out. But Ken Caminetti, who's hit 2 home runs in this series already, and who would bat left-handed, is on deck.
And you can't do that if you're Springer. He's real slow to home plate. And as you mentioned earlier, Bagwell with 30 stolen bases, he'd be off and running.
Oh, man. He went up after it. A shoulder-high fastball. That one hit a speaker and almost caught by Chipper Jones. That was headed about 50 rows back into the seats, and it hit one of those infamous Astrodome speakers, and Chipper Jones, to his credit, had gone over and almost caught it.
I totally agree with you. This ball hit him in the glove, but you cannot give him an error for that. This ball should have ended up well into foul territory. That's the same kind of play where there was a pop-up in Atlanta, and Greg Maddox dove for it, ended up actually breaking a bone in his pitching hand that bounced off of Chipper's glove.
High in the air off to the right side. Look out for the speakers. Klesko comes over just in case, and you see that one about 12 rows back into the seats. I think the first one he hit was going to be way back into the seats, but it hit a speaker. The speakers are in play. It's as if the wind caught it and blew it back. 2-2 to Bagwell. He is trying to deliver here. Low and outside, 3-2. Bagwell has yet to hit one in the postseason. Today he's 0 for 1, 2 walks, and hit by a pitch. He is walked again. That is the 6th walk allowed by Braves pitching in this game. And it brings Caminetti up with Javier behind him and Everett after him.
Bagwell 2 for 4 off Springer with 2 home runs. Believe me, nobody knew that better than Russ Springer himself.
And once again, the Atlanta bullpen will spring into action. Caminetti 2 hits today, but also a ground ball double play and a strikeout with the bases loaded. Base hit. Bagwell will stop at second. Jordan, who's got a real strong arm. And now Javier, an outstanding bunter, coming up. Javier, acquired from the San Francisco Giants because of the long list of injuries to outfielders, and he was a very important player in the stretch run. He hit .328 as an Astro, .285 overall this year. Bagwell at second, Caminetti at first, Javier squares. There's the bunt, but it rolls foul. Sports Center will follow, and they will bring you right back here for the post-game scene with interviews and all the stories behind the scenes as to what happened here today. And I'm sure part of that will be, where was Billy Wagner? How is he? Is he okay? Derek Bell rooting on his teammates. Up and away, and bluffing a short of second with Walt Weiss covering the bag. Eddie Perez.
It's worked so nice for Houston to have a first baseman that has some speed. If that's a big, slow first baseman out there at second base, you probably wouldn't be sacrificing. It'd take a perfect bunt to get him to third, but Bagwell can run.
1-1 to Javier. He squares around. The curveball, but he got it down. Nice bunt. Nobody fields it. Everybody's safe. The bases are loaded.
It's the Houston Astros that have the 2 errors today. Atlanta doesn't have any. But it was a mistake on the part of Brett Boone in the first when he couldn't come up with the ball cleanly to turn the double play. That led to 2 runs in the first inning. This right here, a mental mistake on the part of the pitcher, Springer. That's his play all the way. He looked at Klesko. He's got to come up with it, make the throw. He doesn't do that. And because of it, Atlanta in trouble again.
Now John Rocker, the hard-throwing lefty who is a great strikeout pitcher, he is coming on to face Carl Everett. Bases loaded, nobody out. And as Rocker comes in to warm up, let's go to Sports Center for this update.
Gentlemen, thanks. Dave Revson along with Bob Lee in the Sports Center studios. We'll get you back out for the dramatic finish in just a moment. But first, huge news out of Shea Stadium.
That's right. Mike Piazza will not be in the starting lineup for the New York Mets. 3 weeks ago, he injured his left thumb, re-injured it in Game 2 the other evening against the Diamondbacks, took a cortisone shot and had a bad reaction to it. Piazza will sit tonight.
You can't feel anything. I can't grip a bat or put my glove on. It's very disappointing. But you know, I have the utmost confidence in this ball club, and you know, they've obviously. It's not just because I like to think I'm a big reason why we're here, but it's not. I'm not the only reason why we're here. So I just hope that you know, and I know these guys are gonna be okay.
Todd Pratt starts at catcher tonight.
Well, let's take it back to Houston now. Bases loaded for the Astros. Nobody out. Should be a great finish. Let's go back to John Miller.
Thanks, Dave and Bob. And bad news for the Mets, indeed. That ball game coming up a little bit later. Here, the bases are loaded, and it is starting to get later for the Atlanta Braves unless John Rocker, who is an outstanding strikeout pitcher, can get at least one big one right here. He had 104 strikeouts in 72 in the third innings, but he never needed one more than he needs it right now.
It's been a big year for John Rocker as the closer for the Atlanta Braves with all the trouble they had. They had Kerry Lightenberg was supposed to be there. He was out for the year. Mark Wohlers tried to make a comeback. That didn't work. Rocker inherited the job. He also inherited 3 runners on base right now and no place to put Carl Everett.
This is a spot with nobody out. The winning run at third, the outfield as well as the infield having to draw in. The outfielders need to be in a spot where they can still catch the ball with some forward action and be able to keep a runner from scoring. The infielders also in all the way around. Everybody's in. Everett does not want to hit a ball on the ground, obviously. Everett 1 for 5 with 3 strikeouts versus Rocker. Rocker filled a big hole. The Braves lost their closer, Kerry Lightenberg, to surgery before the season ever started. That was their big question coming in. Who was going to do all the bullpenning for them? Well, Rocker was one of the solutions. Oh, man. 97 miles an hour. The high fastball, and he couldn't get it. Everett today has walked, hit an infield single, and twice has struck out. The strikeout, that's what Rocker needs today, in a day filled with strikeouts. Up and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jeff Bagwell started the inning with a walk. Then Caminetti promptly singled him to second through the open hole on the right side. And Javier, trying to sacrifice, beat out the bunt. Ooh, down and in. And you got to be ever so mindful of the wild pitch. Rocker will throw a slider. 2-1 the count, but it's a high-risk pitch in this spot. The Astros have never won a postseason series in their history. A chance here to go ahead, 2 games to 1. That's a high foul off the right field line. Back in amongst the spectators. 2-2. All right, partner, you've been there before. Do we see something besides fastball here?
You got to go with your strength right now. Whatever John Rocker feels like his best pitch is what you're going to see now. He's not thrown a breaking ball yet in this at bat. He's got a good hard slider. He's got a better fastball.
There's the slider. Bagwell breaks home. Quesco got him. So Carl Everett just trying to make some kind of contact against a real tough-looking pitch. And then Quesco with a pretty nice play. Caminetti to third. Javier to second. Everett safe at first. And remember, back in the 7th inning, after they had tied the game, they had the bases loaded and 1 out. And Caminetti up. Niesky behind him, and they could not push home another run.
All year long, you've heard people talk about the New York Mets bullpen. Well, the Atlanta Braves say that in the last couple of weeks of the season, in those big series they had, the Braves bullpen actually outpitched the New York Mets bullpen. You might not know a lot of their names, but it looks like you're going to find out who they are before too long.
Now Eusebio. The outfield is real shallow all the way around for Eusebio. He has walked with the bases loaded once already today. That was in the 1st inning. He has struck out, flied out, and grounded out. Caminetti, now the runner at third base, but they're trying to get home. 0-1. The The Braves have almost run through their bullpen in this one. Rocker, their 6th pitcher of the day. They've used everybody out of the bullpen except Kevin McGlinchey. They've used someone not out of the bullpen, Greg Maddux. Slider. He's going to have to hurry. He got him. What a play by Walt Weiss. Weiss has saved the game, at least for the moment. That's why Weiss was in there.
Ball game's over right now without Walt Weiss in there defensively. I was a little bit surprised. Right before that pitch, I was wondering why the infield was not back. If they were back, they would have had a little bit more range. You get a ground ball, you got a slow running catcher, you might turn the double play and end it. Bobby Cox decided to go in with it. Walt Weiss in perfect position. Look at him playing more so up the middle. If he's over one more step to his right, this ball game's over with. He knew where he wanted to play. He saw the pitch Rocker was coming with. He got up. That's a tough throw right there. You can't possibly put more pressure on that throw than what was on it.
Jubilation from the Braves dugout. Walt Weiss has risen to the occasion to save the game, at least for the moment.
And so has John Rocker. You got the infield in. You got to get something on the ground, and he's done that.
Gutierrez to hitters. Strike one call. Gutierrez is 0 for 4. He's hit one ball to the outfield, a line drive to right to end the first. Struck out and twice grounded out since then. 3-3, last of the 10th. 3 men on, 2 men down. And quickly, Rocker is ahead of Gutierrez, 0-2. There's Javier now. A possible winning run at third base. The Braves had a runner at third and 1 out in the first half of this inning and could not get him home. The Astros had the bases loaded and nobody out in the last of the 10th inning. Now they are loaded with 2 down and 2 strikes to Gutierrez. One ball, 2 strikes, staying with a fastball to Gutierrez. And Caminetti stumbled over the foot of Eddie Perez as he came home and flipped a somersault after that, which the Astros hate to see that ever happen to Caminetti. He was so prone to injury. Rocker trying to get the Braves to the 11th inning. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The slider. That was close. Gutierrez was frozen. It was just a question of what the call was. The rally cap has not worked just yet here in the 10th inning for Jose Lima. The Atlanta Braves in the unfamiliar position here in a division series, having to battle. The slider in the dirt for the strikeout. And John Rocker lets loose with the emotion. There were 3 men on with nobody out when he came on, and he retired 3 in a row with considerable help from that man, Walt Weiss. Putting his batting gloves on, he is scheduled to lead off here in the 11th inning, which nobody in this ballpark thought would ever happen. What 11th inning? What are you talking about? 3 men on, nobody out when Rocker came on. Finally, the spectacular play by Walt Weiss. At this moment, a game-saving play, and who knows, they may look back and say, that one saved the season. Then finally, with 2 down, the slider in the dirt, the strikeout Gutierrez, and then the emotion allowed to be let loose by Rocker. And then he and Randall Simon with the chest bump.
He's got a right to be emotional about that job he just did, but first thing he needs to do is go over and shake the hand of Walt Weiss. That ball was by Walt Weiss. He reached behind him and pulled it into his glove, got up, and somehow made a good throw to home plate.
Doug Henry, who got through all kinds of trouble in the 10th inning himself. With the 1-out single by Gerald Williams, Otis Nixon came in to run. Promptly stole second, went to third on a wild throw, but was stranded there although 2 subsequent walks loaded the bases for Andrew Jones, and he lined out to the left fielder. Now, having seen each team leave the bases loaded in the 10th inning, we start the 11th. 2-0 the count to John Rocker. Rocker, who was the closer, and he came in to wrap up a game that the Braves led. He has not had an at-bat this year. But it is 3-0. And the Astros bullpen will get busy. Now 3-1. I mean, walking this guy to start the 11th inning is inviting all kinds of trouble. Eddie Perez due up next, and he has walked it. A leadoff walk of the pitcher. I mean, first off, you're saying, wow, Braves are going to let the pitcher bat leading off the inning.
They really don't have much choice. They're starting to run out of people. They've only got a couple of extra catchers left to pinch hit with. They've got Battle down there they could pinch hit with, but
Perez drops the bunt down. Bagwell wants to go to second. He does. In time. Back to first. In time. And Perez gets into it with Dana DeMuth. He's got the bad knees, as you pointed out, Rick. What a play by Jeff Bagwell to get the lead runner.
Well, you thought Bagwell was going to end the game when he got on base in the bottom of the 10th inning with the walk. He got the third with nobody out. He couldn't end it that way. But look at this play right here. Look at him right on top of Perez. He knows it's a pitcher at first base. He knows he's got to take a chance at getting that run. He doesn't. Perez, you can't blame him for that. He got down a good bunt. He hustled the best he could down there. He's going to have surgery the day after the season ends on his left knee. He's got tendonitis in both knees. And yet he's just gutting it out to try to get through these playoffs for the Atlanta Braves.
Well, he went in there with that slide, which may have actually slowed him down still further at first base. Vern Rule out to have a quick word with Doug Henry. 2 down, nobody on, and the dangerous Ryan Klesko up. And Jeff Bagwell, talk about guys rising to the occasion. Because it could have been all too easy for him just to say, I got the short out at first, I'm going for it. He had to hurry with that throw to second. A lot of things could have gone wrong once he decided to go to second in such a hurry, but he did it fluidly and flawlessly.
How about what he said in the Houston paper today, too? Am I frustrated? I'm not frustrated. Having a bad playoff series, that's nothing new to me. You know, I'll go out, I'll play hard, and hopefully things will turn around. No excuses.
There's the slider down around his ankles, and quickly Henry is ahead of Klesko. No balls, 2 strikes. Henry retired Klesko on a foul ball to the catcher in the 8th inning of the game on Tuesday. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series will move to ESPN 2 at 8 o'clock. Up and away with a fastball. 1-2 to Klesko. Klesko is one of those guys who could lose one into the seats just like that. Henry has to be ever so careful with the powerful Ryan Klesko. Walt Weiss would be next. 2 down, nobody on. 11th inning. The Astrodome has been the house of thrills here today. Knocking out of play. This is the first time they've had an extra inning postseason game at the Astrodome since the famous 16-inning game between the Mets and the Astros in October of 1986. That was the 6th game, which the Mets eventually won 3-2. 1-2 to Klesko. Well, that one was a dangerous looking pitch.
Klesko was right on top of that fastball away. And you would think Henry would see that. Eusebio certainly sees it. Guy starts to cheat on your heater. He's catching up with it. Just throw a breaking ball down.
Klesko might have gotten his pitch to hit right there. There's the slider down in the dirt. He strikes him out. Eusebio to Bagwell. Doug Henry won. The game still tied at 3. Last of the 11th inning. Tomorrow, game 4. John Smoltz, who pitched one of his best games ever, according to him, in this ballpark to win the division series 2 years ago up against Shane Reynolds, who already has 1 win in this series, having pitched game 1 on Tuesday. That's 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central on ESPN tomorrow. John Rocker and Glenn Barker to start the 11th. Then Craig Biggio on deck. Barker takes a strike, showing bunt. Barker struck out, leading off the 9th inning against Russ Springer. John Rocker facing 3 of the biggest hitters he's ever faced. And Barker had shown bunt and then brought the bat back as if to swing away, and then ended up jumping out of the way with a high slider. 1-1 the count. Chipper Jones shallow at third. Klesko pulled in at first. Back to the screen. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Barker.
Barker just trying to put the ball in play, preferably on the ground, so that he can use his speed. He'll just walk up on this ball right here. Just a short swing. He's just kind of like playing Pepper. Just hit it on the ground. Give me a chance to run.
Barker stole a big base and scored the tying run of the game after so doing in the 7th inning. And he is down on strikes on the slider. There is 1 away. Bill Spires, whom we just saw in the dugout, is the man who drove in Barker with that clutch hit in the 7th inning against the left-hander Relinger, who had just been brought in to face him.
Real good breaking ball right here on the part of John Rocker. We've seen a couple of those here this afternoon. It might be tonight. We've been inside this dome.
Night falling over Houston. Outside. Inside, time does not exist. There is just that elusive quest to get the run to win this pivotal game. Biggio the hitter. The slider. A strike. Biggio 0 for 3 against Rocker this year. And Doug Henry, the pitcher, is due up next. Tim Bogar has come out of the on-deck circle. 1 out, nobody on. That is a catch at second by Brett Boone. And Boone has been there a couple of times on would-be base hits for Biggio. He also caught a liner hit real hard by Biggio back in the 5th inning. Biggio is now 1 for 5 with a walk today.
What makes it possible? Look how deep Brett Boone is playing right there. He's about 10 feet behind the line where most normal second basemen stand. That's the only reason he can get to this ball. You take a chance, you're going to lengthen the throw a little bit. You take a chance on another error or 2 by playing that deep. But Boone shows right there how important it is.
Now Tim Bogar, the pinch hitter for Henry. Fastball to strike. Bogar, 32 years old. This is his 5th season with, rather his 3rd season with the Astros. Bogar hit only .239 during the regular season. And he is the, in fact, now he was the only remaining right-handed hitter available off Larry Goodman's bench. If he could get on base here, Jeff Bagwell could take a shot at trying to drive him in. Bagwell would be next.
Darrell Ward's still over there. I might have started talking about him a little too soon.
Bounces that slider in the dirt in front of the plate. 2 balls and 1 strike.
You just wonder how far Bobby Cox is going to go with John Rocker. Even if they're able to win this ball game, Rocker's going to have to come back out and pitch at least 1 more inning for them to hold down the lead if they are able to get it. But will he be able to come back tomorrow? I don't know. And don't forget, the 5th game, if needed, is on Sunday.
It is 3-1 to Bogart. Well, if he's ever going to get anything resembling a pitch to hit from John Rocker, considering Jeff Bagwell is on deck, now would be the time. 3-1. Bogart, his first postseason at bat ever. He does not get anything to hit. And remember, this is already a longer outing than Rocker is used to. For those of you who have tuned in, looking for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, check in with ESPN 2. It is now airing over there. On the other hand, we're in the last of the 11th inning here at the Astrodome. Maybe you want to just stay tuned for the exciting conclusion before you check it out. Jeff Bagwell against John Rocker. Now that's the ultimate confrontation. Power versus power. The great hard-throwing closer against the great slugger. Everything on the line. Bagwell has had 1 hit in 5 career at-bats against Rocker. That 1 hit, a home run. Bogart at first. Ooh, man.
My goodness. You can just look into the eyes of Jeff Bagwell and tell the intensity that he plays every day with. He played in 162 games this year. Look at the intensity in those eyes right there.
Well, that's a ball. I mean, Bagwell did not miss that one by very much.
You know, some guys just want to make a difference. Bagwell's one of those guys. He's not scared to take a chance.
The slider. A foul ball, and quickly, Rocker has him in a hole. No balls and 2 strikes.
He proved that in the top of this inning on that bunt. You see a lot of first basemen come in there, and just to protect themselves, they act like they can't get it out of their glove. They don't take a chance on that quick throw to second base. Bagwell wanted to make a difference. He knew it was important. He came in, he made the perfect throw, and because of it, 2 outs and nobody on.
Well, you said Bobby Cox is throwing everything out there to win this ball game. Greg Maddox included, who worked in relief. Well, the man on the right you may recognize. He pitched a 1-hitter 2 days ago. That's Kevin Millwood, who has joined Kevin McGlinchey in the bullpen. This would be Millwood's day to throw after a start. Anyway,
he's already got his throwing in, I'm sure.
I don't know.
Going to get a little bit more in. No, I'm sure he threw before the ball game this afternoon. You know, one thing, too, I haven't kept track, but McGlinchey has been up several times.
And McGlinchey has thrown a half a game already out there, just warming up. But Kevin Millwood is also up.
He was up in the first inning when Glavine was struggling a little bit. That's quite a while ago.
McGlinchey was up. In the dirt on that throw to first. Wow. As John Rocker suddenly, Rocker and the Braves suddenly seeming concerned about Tim Bogart over there. 1 ball, 2 strikes to the 42 home run man, Jeff Bagwell. High pop-up, shallow right. Brian Jordan. And we continue onward. 11 full innings. It is 3-3. Walt Weiss, Otis Nixon, Brett Boone, Chipper Jones would be due 4th in the 12th. Still tied at 3, moving to the 12th inning from the Astrodome. Coming up on Saturday, college football on ESPN. College game day starts the day at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 Pacific, and then it will be at 7 o'clock Eastern, 9th-ranked Georgia against 6th-ranked Tennessee. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. That's tomorrow on ESPN. Georgia, the only undefeated team left in the SEC East. Tennessee's T. Martin, 16-1 as the Volunteers starting quarterback. There's Jay Powell. Tall, hard-throwing right-hander of the Astros. He is the 4th Houston pitcher of the day. And the Astros bullpen has a lot more left to go than does the Atlanta bullpen.
Well, Bobby Cox had to go with 3 catchers. We've talked about the injuries to Perez's legs. If you only go with 2 and you have to pinch run for Perez, which you need to, Greg Myers, they might have to pinch run for them. If you lose 2 catchers, if both of them get hurt, well, you simply lose the series. The only guy that could possibly be their 3rd catcher is Ozzie Guillen, and you know we don't want to see that.
Walt Weiss, the hitter. 0 for 2 in the game, but as you see, the Diamondbacks and Mets game has begun at Shea Stadium. Rick Reed on the mound for the Mets tonight. That series tied at a game apiece. Here we're in the 12th inning. That looked like a split-fingered pitch. Did he swing? Yes. Third base umpire Paul Schreiber making the call on the appeal. 0-2 to Weiss. Weiss is 3 for 3 lifetime against Powell, including a single, a double, and a triple against him. Otis Nixon on deck. Bobby Cox giving Schreiber an earful from the Atlanta dugout. Too low. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Jose Cabrera went 2 shutout innings, 8th and 9th inning. 8th and 9th innings in relief of Hampton. And Henry, the 10th and 11th innings. 10th and 11th innings without allowing a run. Fastball inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The Astros bullpen busy, and so is the Braves bullpen. We showed you that McGlinchey was up yet again, and also Kevin Millwood, amazingly, had gotten up, and they're both still up out there. Along the left field line, into that bullpen area, just past Millwood. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Pitch for the Atlanta Braves in the postseason. Pitch every other day in the postseason, maybe. Well, the Braves had always waltzed through these first-round division series games. Their record in these first-round playoff games before this year was 12-1. They had never lost a first game, or for that matter, a second game in one of these best-of-5 series. He struck him out. The Braves are playing for survival. At least that's the way Bobby Cox is playing it. Pivotal game. And they stayed alive on this play by Walt Weiss in the 10th inning with the bases loaded. 1 out. What a play it was. And in the 11th inning, Jeff Bagwell. He made a spectacular play in the bunt. Double play. So each team has risen to the occasion defensively when it was needed the most. That play by Bagwell came after a leadoff walk to John Rocker, no less, the pitcher, which looked like a disaster in the making. Bagwell made it all better.
How about the finish of that double play, too? Craig Biggio doing the splits to reach out and try to complete that double play in time.
Biggio, the second baseman, covering after that bunt to complete the double play. Otis Nixon, 1 ball, 1 strike. Nixon had gotten himself to third base with 1 out in the 10th inning, stealing a base, going to third on the throwing error. He was there with 1 out, but they could not get him home. 1-2 the count. Otis did not hit at all this year. I mean, his worst year with the bat, he hit .205, and as a left-handed hitter, hit only .194. The Houston bullpen also busy. Behind that man, Jay Powell. Base hit to left field. Well, Powell made a horrible pitch there on 1-2. So Nixon is aboard.
Well, you just get a guy to spin like a top on an off-speed pitch down in the dirt. Why in the world would you elevate it and give him a chance to put it in play, in particular when it's a guy like this? Look at that pitch up in his eyes right there. You've got your catcher down in the dirt. He's wanting the ball down there. You get a little bit excited with 2 strikes. The crowd gets a little bit louder. You overthrow, and you make mistakes.
And Nixon is at first, and as you know, he is not liable to stay there very long. He's easily back. He came into this game in a base stealing situation. In the 10th, he was a pinch runner for Gerald Williams, who had singled. You notice, with everybody in the ballpark knowing that he was about to steal, stole, and Eusebio's throw skipped into center, and Otis ended up at third, just ahead of Barker's throw. Base hit. Nixon will stop at second. Everett up throwing. So Brett Boone gets his 3rd hit of the game, and now Chipper Jones with a chance to turn this one around for Atlanta.
Well, if you don't hang that off-speed pitch to Nixon and you get him out, Jeff Bagwell is playing deep and in his regular first base position. That's a ground ball to him. You're out of the inning, and you don't have to face Chipper Jones here in the top of the 12th.
And Jay Powell, who was a setup man, often used in the 8th innings of games in front of Billy Wagner, and the Astros had a lead to protect. But nonetheless, the last few times he was used in the regular season, he went into a slump. Hence, Durker's choice of Doug Henry in those crucial 7th and 8th innings in Game 1 on Tuesday. And now Powell in this huge game, trying to get out of a huge jam. The Braves have just the man they want up there in a spot like this. Go on, Chipper Jones. He is the 45 home run man, and he has 3 hits in 6 career at-bats against Jay Powell, including a home run. Holt, the right-hander, Trevor Miller, the left-hander, up in the bullpen for Houston. Nixon at second, Boone at first, only 1 out. 2-0, not even close. Jones in this game 1 for 3 with 2 walks and a run scored. His 1 hit was an infield single to shortstop in the 4th inning. Now, Vern Rule, the pitching coach, heads out to the mound to talk to Jay Powell, who is struggling.
Chipper might need extra batting practice before tomorrow's game just to see what a strike looks like. It's been a while since anybody challenged him. The last time that happened was the New York Mets series.
All of baseball. Watch those highlights on SportsCenter. And I think it was unanimous. Don't pitch to Chipper Jones,
left or right-handed,
if you can help it. 4 homers in 3 games against the Mets in that series a couple of weeks ago. All of them put the Braves ahead. Gutierrez trying to keep Otis Nixon close at second. Good low sinker. Chipper Jones chased it 2-1.
And Rule might have gone out there to remind Jay Powell, yeah, Chipper Jones led the Atlanta Braves offense in a lot of categories, but don't forget one of those, he grounded into 20 double plays.
And Rule back in the dugout. 2-1 the count. Slow chop. Not hard enough to get 2. If they get Chipper Jones, Caminiti throws him out. The runners advance. Nixon to third. Boone to second. And now Brian Jordan, who has driven in all of the Braves runs today with his monumental 3-run homer back in the 6th inning. And they were trailing 2-0 at that time. First base is open. He has singled and walked since the home run.
Larry Durker, as a rule, normally doesn't believe in the intentional base on balls a whole lot. He's got a lot of confidence in his pitchers. He's got a veteran ball club. They know the base is open. Be careful. You don't have to give in when you fall behind.
He has driven in 5 runs in the last 2 games of this series. Jordan stands in. Too low. Now Jordan has a history of making trouble for Powell. He has 5 hits in 12 lifetime at-bats against Powell. A .417 average against him. But at least with first base open, he has a little room to maneuver here against Brian Jordan. That is called a strike at the knees. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You know what? Brian Jordan knows that too. And what he'll look for is something off speed out of the strike zone. He might have got caught guessing a little bit there, not looking for a fastball that he could hit. But with that injury, he's a better hitter with an off-speed pitch than he is that fastball. He just can't get around on it as quick.
And the fastball back to the screen. When he hit the 3-run homer, it was a hanging, it looked like a hanging slider from Mike Hampton.
What has made him an RBI producer is the fact that he has gone to the opposite field more so. He'll hit the fastball to right field, and if you hang a breaking ball, he can pull it and still keep it fair.
He had 115 RBIs during the regular season. Runners at second and third, 2 down. Base hit, and the Braves have gone ahead. Nixon scores. Boone right behind him. And Brian Jordan has become the man for the Braves. He has driven in all 5 runs today. 7 RBIs in the last 2 games.
You got to go back to Otis Nixon. You hang an off-speed pitch to him. You bring Chipper up. You bring up Brian Jordan. You had Jordan right where you wanted. All you had to do was make a pitch. Throw that fastball in where he can't get around on it. Instead, he went with the fastball away. Jordan just went that other way, as he has done the last couple of years. And as you said, has all the RBIs for Atlanta.
And now they're going to walk Andrew Jones intentionally with the pitcher due up next. It is 5-3, Atlanta ahead in the 12th inning. Arizona did not score in the first inning at Shea Stadium. Meanwhile, Mets coming up there against Omar Dahl in a scoreless game. Well, you mentioned it. Larry Dierker does not like to walk people intentionally, but I think that's just poor pitching by Jay Powell. He had room to maneuver. He never had to give in to him. First base was open. There's no way he ever should have gotten that pitch even close to being hittable like that. Well, now the intentional walk has been given. The Braves, by the way, Bobby Cox ordered 55 intentional walks this year, just by comparison. Backing up what you're saying, Larry Dierker ordered 17 intentional walks. Ozzie Guillen, the hitter. I remember 1985 in the League Championship Series, Tom Lasorda decided not to walk Jack Clark intentionally with Tom Niedenfuer on the mound. But he ordered Niedenfuer not to throw him a strike. Niedenfuer did, and Jack Clark launched a 3-run homer, and that proved to be the game winner. The Cardinals won that series on that home run and went to the World Series. 1 ball and no strikes now to Ozzie Guillen, the pinch hitter for John Rocker. Drifting back in left field, Javier, and that is the inning. But the big crowd here in Houston, which has spent so much emotion now, is very, very quiet. The Atlanta Braves are leading 5-3. Last chance for Houston.
It's taken 100 years and over 15,000 players to assemble the most exclusive team in history, the Major League Baseball All-Century Team. Now you can order the commemorative video and book by calling 1-888-CENTURY. Both honor the game's greatest players through unforgettable images and stories, exclusive interviews, and vintage footage. Order the book and video for only $44.95 plus shipping by calling 1-888-CENTURY. This message furnished by Major League Baseball.
They come to us for many reasons. Because we save them money on what they need with our everyday low price. Because we help them solve their problems and get them back on the road. And because we stand behind the parts we sell with a warranty that's good at more than 2,500 stores coast to coast. Fact is, people everywhere come to us because we're AutoZone, the largest auto parts retailer in America. And there's just no place any better.
Something touched my hand.
Bats, rated PG-13, starts Friday, October 22nd.
Okay, so sometimes I turn my back on my kids when they drink at home. At least they're not doing drugs.
Underage drinkers are 50 times more likely to use cocaine than those who don't drink alcohol. Say nothing, do nothing, stop nothing.
Atlanta 5, the Astros 3 in this big game, the turnaround game in this series. It's the 12th inning. That's Jay Powell in the Astros dugout. And the picture says it all. And we all have moments in life that we'd like to have back. Now remember, after the ball game here on ESPN, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series will be moved back from ESPN to over here. So stay tuned for that right here on ESPN. And Kevin Millwood will pitch one of the great games ever seen in a postseason playoff game 2 days ago. The first complete game one-hitter in any postseason game, World Series, playoffs, or otherwise. in 32 years. Jim Lonborg was the last one to do it. And now he's back 2 days later. He threw 105 pitches in that game. And here he is trying to get a save. Caminetti takes ball one. Caminetti, who had the only hit against him on Wednesday, a home run. Caminetti is 3 for 5 in this game. Stan Javier and Carl Everett will follow. So they got 3 very good hitters coming up here. 5-3 Atlanta. Too high. And Rick, Kevin Millwood, the question is, how much does he have left to offer today?
Well, you know, one thing about the Atlanta Braves, when I looked at the velocity, 95 and 93 miles an hour, obviously his arm's not hurting him any, but when you think about that starting staff, they talk about going to the post and how much pride they take in going out there every 5th day as a starter, where you're seeing a little bit more of that pride. Maddox volunteering to come out of the pen, Millwood doing the same thing. These guys don't care what it takes. They'll sacrifice their personal numbers just for the team, and that's what Millwood's doing here.
Well, he has got plenty of steam on that fastball. Again, Caminetti cannot catch up to it. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
This is actually the first year in Millwood's professional career that he has not had a relief appearance.
A soaring pop-up. Foul ground. Chipper Jones. 1 away. So Caminetti is gone, and now Stan Javier trying to get on base for Carl Everett. 5-3 Atlanta. Well, for the loser of this game, whichever side, it was going to be a devastating loss. But for the Astros, in particular, having to come back tomorrow in a game where they had the game ready to be won. 3 men on, nobody out in the 10th inning, and they could not get that 1-run home. And it's a short turnaround tomorrow. Tomorrow's game is at noon Houston time. And having to regroup from a devastating loss, if in fact that's the way it turns out. The slider too high to Javier. 1 ball, 1 strike. In that 16-inning classic in the '86 League Championship Series of the Mets, there were so many twists and turns in that game in the extra innings. And again, Brett Boone gets it. Like they've been hitting line drives right at Boone all day. 2 down, and Javier can't hit a ball harder than that.
Back in 1996, when he pitched for Durham, Kevin Millwood had his last save. That's the 3rd of his professional career. He did have 2 relief appearances last year for Atlanta when he was a 17-game winner. How about that? John Rocker going for the win, Millwood the save.
Too low to Carl Everett. Now, if Everett could get on base, Eusebio due up next, but they have Darrell Ward still available off their bench. Well, they've taken a couple of wild swings in this inning. An inning where what they need is somebody to get on base. There's Darrell Ward. So if Everett can get on, Ward could take a shot to tie him. When he went back up there again, 1 ball or 2 balls, 1 strike. Jay Powell, just 2 years ago, he was the winner in Game 7 of the World Series for the Florida Marlins. Such is the fickle aspect of being a hero in this game. Well, I think he just swung a ball 4 right there. They need him to get on base. 3-2 the count to Everett.
I was surprised the tape wasn't on right there. You only got 1 hit off of him in 9 innings.
And that's it. Kevin Millwood, the 1-hit complete game victory in Game 2 to even the series, and then a perfect 12th inning and a save to wrap it up for the Braves in this emotional 12-inning Game 3. And the Atlanta Braves have turned this series around, with John Smoltz set to go tomorrow to try and wrap up this division series. For the Astros, a bitter defeat, and you wonder how much they'll have left, because they gave it everything they had and maybe then some here today.
They've got to be devastated. But how about Brian Jordan? There's a lot of guys with the injury that he has had to his right wrist simply would have shut it down. They might have even had season-ending surgery on it. He says, no, I want to play. That's what I came to Atlanta for, to be a part of the postseason. He's a big part of it right now.
Brian Jordan, a 2-out, 3-run homer in the 6th inning, and then the 2-out, 2-run double in the 12th inning. He drove in all 5 of their runs, but there were many other heroes. I mean, John Rocker getting out of that bases loaded, nobody out jam, coming in from the bullpen in the 10th inning, and Walt Weiss making the amazing defensive play to make that happen. And for the Astros, it's going to be a tough night to sleep. Tomorrow, John Smoltz, and Smoltz said maybe the most perfect game he has ever pitched was that 3rd game clinching game in 1997 in this ballpark to beat the Astros and let the Braves move on up against Shane Reynolds. And Shane Reynolds again for the 3rd consecutive time, Rick, in 8 days will be pitching on short rest.
Yeah, and the problem along with that for Houston is finding some way to score some runs. John Smoltz has been able to take his game up to that next level when it's come to the postseason. He'll be expected to do that again tomorrow.
That's 1 o'clock tomorrow on ESPN, noon Central Time, 10 Pacific. They had their 22-game winner, Mike Hampton. That was not enough. Ken Caminetti had 3 hits, but it wasn't enough. Brian Jordan, 5 RBIs. The Braves are in command, leading 2-1. John Miller, Rick Sutcliffe, good night from the Astrodome.